What's going on, guys? What's going on? There's something hidden in the Declaration of Independence. It's a clue. You have to look deep within the lettering written by John Hancock. It's a raging clue. It's written in the milk duds. 1 a.m. finish? Potentially. You guys got me figured out. Bro's staying up all night. Bro's pulling an all-nighter. He's studying for his YouTube exams. I've got finals on YouTube tomorrow. Babe, I gotta get to bed. We got an early day at YouTube headquarters tomorrow. We gotta demonetize 9,000 creators. For seemingly no reason. 10 minutes early. Early to rise, early to terrorize. Also, did I tell you guys I got bit by a spider? It's very annoying. Can't talk. I got YouTube finals. Me versus Ryan's Toys tomorrow. Spiders are cute. Not these ones. Like I've told you guys before, many times in my house I have these spiders that descend from the ceiling to try to get in my fucking face. I'm not even joking. It's like they have some hard on, even though I am fucking 9,000 times their size. I think they're yellow sac spiders. I think that's what they are. They do not love me. Because seemingly in the middle of the night, one bit me on my fucking finger. And it left a weird type of wound. That seems to be getting better over the course of a week, but it's just, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's definitely not a normal sort of wound that you would get. Have you seen Joro spider? Those guys are big as fuck. Let's take a peek. Joro spider. Oh yeah, those are the weird garden ones. Yeah, I really, really don't like the spindly ones. These ones the ones that try to come after me, they're kind of spindly, but they're also oddly translucent, if that makes sense. It looks like prongs on your skin. Yeah, two bites, two clear bites, and then there's a small little area where it's almost like a pimple, and then it's red around it. Thankfully it's not gotten worse or necrotic or anything like that, but I don't know. Pennsylvania doesn't really have a lot of very dangerous spiders per se, but there's the brown recluse, but those seem to live closer to water or something like that. What's my favorite blood type? Oh man, probably O negative. Hello from Korea. Hello, Korea. How's North Korea or South Korea? We have literally Kim Jong-un is my biggest fan. I help him fall asleep at night after he starves his people for the 9,000th time. Recluse are in California. Yeah, it seems like they're all over the place. Anybody dealing with the ticks? I heard there's a crazy tick outbreak. People finding ticks, and I don't know if that's the one thing I hear, people farmers and stuff finding boxes of Lone Star ticks in their farm fields and shit. But then simultaneously, I don't know if that's true or not. But then also conveniently, there's a Lyme's disease vaccine coming out soon. This summer. Be there or be square for the Lyme's disease vaccine. And then if you get it, you might get alpha gall, which makes you conveniently allergic to red meats. How cool is that? Right whenever they want to fill your belly with weird fake meat. Bomba clot bullshit. They're always thick where you camp. Yeah, man. It's freaking suck. Yeah, ticks and hantavirus. Exactly. Not really sure exactly how far the hantavirus stuff goes, but I mean, like, honestly, it's like once a news cycle picks up, I don't know. They could just blame it. They could blame something that's already inside of you on the hantavirus, and what are you going to do about it? The hentai virus, exactly. You know what's funny about the coronavirus is whenever that first dropped, everybody was talking about that in like, I want to say like February 2009. No, yeah, February 2020. There was like jokes about it, right? Calling it, you know, because they were like, it was like Corona-chan, and it was like sort of a big-tittied anime girl that was a bat. She was like a bat, and you know, because it was supposedly the Chinese ate bat soup or something and made coronavirus. But anyways, it was the same type of setup too. It's like we've seen this fucking movie before. 6 people in the United States who got back on land. All right, perfect. We're all dead. Or maybe we're not. Who knows? Maybe we'll all be A-okay if we think really good thoughts. Enjoy all the guys' stories and everything, but I'm not a paid subscription kind of person. They don't talk to me that much. Who's that, me or you? I talk to everyone, I promise. I don't give a fuck if anybody pays any money to chat with them. I had to shave my beard because the tiny wood particles getting past my respirator at work were making me sick. Oh god, yeah, be careful. I remember my uncle, he worked with a lot of asbestos, and well, I don't even know if it was asbestos or what it was, but he had died of like lung cancer at like 50, which was really sad because he was like the nicest uncle, probably the nicest uncle. Hey, Rick Campbell with the big 20. I love your camping stories. Love the Ozarks. I'm at a campsite now. Just my phone and my charger, solar lights, and campfire. Now scare me. I dare you. Look behind you, Rick. You see some glowing eyes in the tree line. Rick, are you just living on your own, or are you married with a family? What's the deal? You know what's funny? I had a psychic. You want to know what a psychic told me? My psychic friend. I honestly haven't verified whether they're actually psychic, but they love to tell me that they're psychic. And they said I have to get a move on to get married and have kids, because otherwise I'm going to be really, really depressed if I'm not married with kids. But they said that my first marriage is going to be to a Latina, and then she's going to cheat on me. But it's also going to be low-key my fault that they cheat on me. I was like, what? What did I do? And they're like, you weren't attentive enough. I was like, so they just cheat on me? Like, well, it's kind of your fault. You weren't paying attention. I guess that happens with Latinas, guys. Be careful. You look away for 3 seconds, they're jumping on someone else's noodle. I had a psychic who told me I was going to have a girl. I had a boy. Okay, good. Let's hope my psychic is full of shit, too. I'm going to avoid every Tina I ever see. We're Latina. We need a lot of attention. It is funny. Like, my buddy's, like... He's dating a Latina, but it's like a long distance thing, and I swear to God, like she's about to like kill him every day over the phone. Like, just every little thing he does is like pretty much borderline cheating, I guess. Honestly, jealousy though is such a turn on. You thought I was married? Well, you thought wrong. Married to the game. Arc Raiders. My best friend got the opposite done to him. He had done everything but got nothing in return. What are you talking about? Y'all want Latinas, but you ain't ready for that spice. True. AKA a giant fucking butcher knife right in the throat for not texting back after 3 subsequent text messages over the course of 13 minutes. I need to go to Eureka Springs and see a psychic. You know what? The Lord tells us not to mess with those of divination. What's up, Hillary? How the psychic told you it's your fault that I got future divorced. I don't know. But hey, I guess I got some good kids out of it in this hypothetical, so. That's all that matters in life, folks. It doesn't matter if you completely fucked up your entire life. I mean, as long as your kids are happy. Sounds like it, how much you are on the internet. What are you talking about? Were you the same one that said, just made my day, bro. I'm very thankful, you guys. Oh yeah, no worries, dude. My blood type tells me what I need to eat and where I'm supposed to live, and it's obviously in Tuscany. Exactly. Make sure you're watching the stars as well. The stars will tell you everything you need to know about reality. And then you won't ever be held accountable for any decisions you ever make because it was pre-written. Noah James, what's up, bro? Good to see you. Anyways, guys, we got some fucking... Oh, you know what? I didn't have my chat on live chat either, so I might be not showing everybody's messages. We got Ozark stories, which are a mountain range, I think. I'm pretty sure. Could be wrong. I'm starting a little bit late. I'll be honest with you guys. There's a lot of times where I'm like sitting home where I get hit with that sensation of like, oh fuck. You know, I'll be like I'll be sitting in my living room opening up Pokemon cards, watching Creepcast, listening to Hunter make like a diabetes joke, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh fuck, I do YouTube too. Crap, I gotta go do that. And then I gotta run down here. Okay, time to read some stories. Well, let's see exactly where the Ozarks are. Ozark Mountains. Oh, that's in Kansas City area. Missouri, Illinois, into Kansas, Arkansas. Interesting. I'm on my boyfriend's account too. It's awesome. It's Mother's Day, and he made my day. He finally noticed me, and I've been doing this for almost 2 years. Fucking cool. You rock, bro. Thank you. Oh yeah, Mother's Day. Did everybody treat their mothers to something nice? It's kind of funny. I bought my mom a big thing of port wine. I don't know. I saw it at the grocery store. I'm like, that's a huge thing of wine, and it looks like it's sweet. So I was like, everybody always gets flowers, but you can't drink flowers. You know, I guess you could put some nice flowers in a vase, but then fill it with wine, and they could just drink that shit. Hangover City. That's a good point. But my mother was not like super stoked about the port wine, which is fine. I made my mom a homemade card with paper, scraps, shiny stickers, and a big flower cut out of a magazine. She loved it. That's amazing. Somebody showed me they made a edible arrangement earlier. It looked rather nice. Delectable. Do you get a lot of rain where you are? Yeah, I'd say so, honestly. It's pretty rainy. I don't know. It's a mixed bag of rain and whatnot. Yesterday was very rainy. Judaism believes in reincarnation. Gilgolim, if you're interested. Does it? Does Judaism? Sometimes I don't even know what the fuck Judaism believes, because you have like the Torah, right? And then the temple was destroyed, so then you have like because Judaism went through like a pretty strong change post getting kicked out of that area, right, by the Romans, right? Am I wrong on that? And then they had to do the Talmud to, like, since they didn't have their temple anymore, to do all their stuff, and the temple was really important, right? So they kind of like created their own new religion, which was just like a series of rabbinical debates written around their scriptures or something. I don't know, but like whether or not they believe in reincarnation, I have no idea. Zapata, welcome back, bro, for 32 months. Never get to use these. Sup, Joel? What's up, bro? How you been? I studied Judaism for a couple of years, about 8 hours a day. I looked into the Zohar as well. Don't mess with the Zohan? Is that what you're saying? Hinduism believes in reincarnation, hence karma. Right. I don't know. If anybody knows anything about anything, please let me know. Anyways, guys, we got 3 stories here tonight. Thanks for being here. Click like, click share. All that good stuff. We're going at it. I was born and raised in the southern Ozarks and spent the majority of it living up in small mountain towns. My best friend growing up was a guy I'll call Tom Tom, or just Tom because he ended up playing drums in the high school metal band that we put together back in 1991. Our guitarist was a guy we called Wizard, because he was so goddamn good that black magic just seemed like the only explanation. I was the lead singer, or more like the lead shouter, and then on bass we had a dude we called Ripper, or just Rip for short. And Rip was crazy. He was loud, wild, and didn't even play bass when he first joined the band, but he had this intensity and vision about him that was second to none. It wasn't even like he could write songs either, but the ideas that he had for them and the stuff that he came up with lyrically, it blew our minds at 18 years old. And there was one line that he wrote that went something sort of like, nuclear fire, funeral pyre, bathing the ruins in poison dust. And that had me and Tom Tom both like, dude, that is awesome. And then even though he had this really rough, kind of amateurish art style, the stuff he drew for potential EP and album covers was just incredible. I'm talking like the kind of stuff that you might expect a patient in a mental asylum to draw, but you know, cool. Like outsider art, if you know what that is. Now anyways, Rip had all the vision, and I did an okay job of shouting his lyrics in a way that did them justice, but it was Tom Tom and the Wizard who made the music really pop. Wizard was a legitimately talented guitarist, and since he played a lot of super complicated jazz guitar, he could learn whatever ultra gnarly solos we needed him to. He also understood music, like he could read sheet music and knew which notes and chords we needed to play to make something sound a particular way. And then since all we wanted was to sound scary and heavy, the Wizard helped make that happen in a big, badass way. We wanted to get a really good band. The goodliest band. Jessica Rabbit from near Bay, Washington. We're lucky enough to get sunshine at the tip of the world, the beginning of the world. That's where I'm from. Nice. You don't want to marry the Latina you love. Well, now I'm scared, dude. I was about to get down on one knee and suck her feet, but now it's like, if she's just gonna cheat on me and divorce me. What the hell, man? Terror Teller, what's up, dude? How's the telling of terrors? They pull any sick cards lately? So it's kind of funny. I actually went to a local card shop and traded with someone for a special illustration Charmander. And I got them. Basically, I bought them like a small 6-pack booster pack of 151. Pokemon 151, and then I gave him some other cards, but it was kind of hilarious because then he opened those and he ended up pulling the special illustration Blastoise and then the special illustration Charmeleon. So that was funny. But then I went to visit a friend about an hour away. I bought him Pokemon cards as well, gave it to him, And he ended up pulling this like $100 Zapdos card, and then this other card that was really sick, which was like, what the heck was it? It was Psyduck, but Psyduck was walking down these huge like Japanese steps. And it was awesome. Joel, do you run at all or just lift? I just primarily lift, and my cardio is mainly just like the stair stepper or incline walk, or I just go on normal walks. Like I used to trail run for miles and miles when I was like in college, but now I just I don't know, like running's cool and I probably should get back into it. Yeah, Meowth or bust. That's for what's that called, the New Order. But the New Order, or whatever it is, the Perfect Order set kind of blows dick, I'll be honest with you. It's kind of dog shit. Latinos are not going to appreciate your Pokemon hobby, so there's another reason to avoid, I think. You think so? You don't think a hot Latina babe would be like, oh my god, I love the way you are just like a fucking stupid nerd and shit. It's so cool. I love the way you obsess over shiny cardboard. Would you recommend becoming an LPN for a few years before going for an RN? No, I would recommend going right into RN because, you know, you're going to end up working and then not wanting to go back to school and shit. So, I mean, you could work as an aide just to get some experience and then work there while you're doing your RN or something. But, yeah, I mean, LPN jobs are just kind of fucking hard to come by anyways because it's mainly nursing homes. Totally talented, bro. Love your stories. I'm very thankful to a lot of you guys. Bloody your friends, too. You guys are all awesome. Thank you for all your talent. Thanks, Steven. Appreciate you. Do I lift hay bales from time to time? What's up, Nina? We wanted to get good really bad and really fast, so we put in the hours, day after day, practicing at this abandoned cabin in a place that we called the Dog Patch, that we converted into a semi-soundproof practice space. Now, I don't want to say exactly where the Dog Patch was, because this is a snake that I don't want to wake, you know what I'm saying? But it's also a story that's too crazy not to tell, so let's just say the Dog Patch was out in the Ozark Mountains someplace, in a spot where so few people lived that we'd actually play heavy metal all night, volume all the way up, and not have to worry about the cops. Now, we started out slow, learning a couple of the slower ex-hoarder songs from Slaughter in the Vatican. But as we got better and better, and the songs got tighter and tighter, it was like we unlocked something collectively, and that's when things really started to pop. We practiced a lot, and we got good, but there was an arrogance about us too. Excuse me, fuck. Once I sneeze, it kind of fucks everything up for like an hour. Have you ever accidentally urinated on someone, example, off a cliff onto a hiker? Wouldn't you like to know? Mystery. Hey Joel, how are you? I have a YouTube question. I'm waiting for tools for a wood carving channel. Would I have any copyright issues if I was wood carving a slab of a movie or video game character? You might, like, if you were to sell them, but I think if you just do artwork pertaining to stuff, like homages, like sometimes in the weirdest way, Nintendo can come after, like, people in the strangest, abstractiest way, but I mean, I would really look into that maybe with, like, AI, because, well, I guess we could just look it up. Ben Wood with the 5 says, big up from the UK, man. Get me through the night shift until 6 a.m. Nice to also see you in the Pokemon. Keep up the top tier content, bro. Thank you, Ben. Benjamin Woodenstein. Thank you so much. Can you wood carve famous movies and characters on YouTube without copyright? My son graduated for the bachelor's in science and engineering with 2 minors in business yesterday. Yay, nice, dude. That's crazy. College graduation is here. Or is it finals week? I forget. How do you wash your dishes? Why are you collecting all this data on me? Everything's a spit shine. Everything's a cardboard piece of paper that I burn afterwards in a big pile. You can actually make YouTube videos yourself wood carving famous movies or characters, but there is a copyright trademark risk depending on how closely you copy the character and how you present and sell it. Probably lower risk you film yourself carving a horror-inspired piece with adding your own commentary, artistic process, critique, humor, or original interpretation. You do not use movie clips, copyrighted music, logos, or exact poster art. This is more likely to look transformative. Higher risk, you carve an exact likeness of Mickey Mouse, Darth Vader, Batman, Freddy Krueger. Title it with the official character movie name. Use the movie logo, show clips, trailers. Yeah, maybe you add your own sort of thing to it. It's for a psychological assessment, nothing to be concerned about. It's true. Trying to get into the mind of the dishwasher in the house. They're building Hey-Arnold-type shrines of you. I hope so. They're gonna wood carve me an effigy and then piss on it. Okay. Anyways. Yeah, I don't know. I think you should be fine wood carving and stuff, and just depends on what else you should do on the channel. Like commentary, getting in front of the camera talking about the next process or whatever. Doing some like sort of speeding up the footage with music or you talking about things. But there was an arrogance about us too. A swagger that said, of course we're good. We work hard at this stuff and we're going to show the whole damned world just how good we really are. Now spoilers, we didn't end up showing the whole world this. But we did end up showing about 24 venues in some of the bigger towns and cities in northern Arkansas, and let me tell you, that became like a drug after about 3 or 4 of them. We went to kick ass and take names. We practiced a lot and we got good, but there was an arrogance about Vatican. Practiced a lot, we got good, arrogant. Oh, I see, yeah. We did end up showing. And spoilers, we didn't end up showing the whole world this. But we did end up showing about 24 venues in some of the bigger towns and cities in northern Arkansas. And let me tell you, that became like a drug after about 3 or 4 of them. We went to kick ass and take names and did both. The ass-kicking in the form of tight, gut-punching sets, and the taking names in the form of meeting other bands, swapping numbers, and securing invites to play more venues. And by the time things went to crap, we had a small following coming to each of our shows and asking when we were going to show up with tapes or merch to sell. We were well on our way, dude, I'm sure of it, and then slowly but surely, things started to unravel and fall apart. About a year into practicing and playing shows, Rip got majorly into getting high. Now, we were all getting high and we did a lot of drinking too, mostly together, but it was a case of, if it's around, cool, I'll try it. But Rip, he'd go on whole trips in the van. To different cities looking to buy mushrooms or LSD, or even coke when he had the money. He said he got bigger and better ideas whenever he was high, and we believed it too. I now think that his ideas would have been, and were, just a good... Damn. I don't know. I hope that this is the Ozarks, but I hope the story actually takes place in the fucking woods of the Ozarks. At some point, I hate the idea that if this just ends up being a band story that's tangentially near the Ozark region and just nothing to do with the outdoors at all. Say, for example, I wanted to wood carve something of a video game, since there are many gaming channels that become monetized. I was thinking there was no problem on my end. Yeah, if that's your skill, I really have I can't imagine it being an issue. Did you ever believe in creepypastas? Yeah, every one of them is real, especially Jink the Slinker and Mr. Smudge. And then Jink the Slinker versus Mr. Smudge. And Slippy's Funhouse. and Lord Sequence. The Pennsylvania forces are advancing on Columbus as we speak. Good, good. It's all going as planned. Creepypastas are so peak back then. You guys should write some creepypastas. Send it in. The Dark Somnium feature was dope. Yeah, that was fun. I now think his ideas would have been, and were, just as good without getting high, but at the time, we were in the thick of it, you know? Rip had this idea that to reach the next level, we had to go on a... Sorry, I fucked that up. Rip had this idea that to reach the next level, we had to go on a joint LSD trip together, like as a band. Now, I thought it was a great idea, and so did Tom Tom. Wizard said he was down too, but when the day came around, before we all drove down to the dog patch to drop acid and jam out, the Wizard dropped out instead. He called Tom Tom to say that he wouldn't be able to make it, and Tom passed the message on to me and Rip, but when Rip heard, he was pissed. We had to spend like a whole hour getting him to chill out again or risk a bad trip with all of his negative energy, and then finally we took our tabs, sat around at the dog patch, and tripped ourselves into oblivion. And the crazy thing about it? It kind of worked. Me, Rip, and Tom actually did feel more like connected afterwards. I wouldn't say it improved our playing or anything. I guess it was more just the sense of brotherhood that we felt after going on our first trip together. But it really did feel like it had made a difference in terms of aligning our visions for the band. I was bummed that Wizard wasn't there to experience it with us and to see what riffs or licks he came up with while tripping. But Rip said that he'd have a talk with him, and have a talk with him, I guess he did. He called me one night saying everything had been arranged and that he and Wizard were going to trip together at the dog patch. And I was obviously very happy about this, but then immediately disappointed when Rip said that they had to do it alone. I think he might have been BSing me looking back on it, but he said that he only had 2 tabs left and that it'd all go much smoother if it was just him and Wizard. It made sense to me at the time, but even if it didn't, Rip said that he had only 2 tabs and couldn't exactly go calling him a liar now. Couldn't call me a liar now, could ya? Rip Van Winkle. Rip Van Oh yeah, whenever you let out a fart, you call it a Rip Van Stinkle. Write that down. Wart. I never paid for Facebook dating, but it had been a bit, and I've been there since I'm recently single. Nice, dude. I hope you find your lover. All online dating is horrible. It should all be offline. You should still be at your computer, but you should just be off the internet. You've given up. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I kind of get fucking annoyed. I mean, I get it. I really do. I really do get why people want to find someone that they can love and cherish, have sex with, go do things with, grow old with, have kids with, blah, blah, blah. But, those same type of people that sort of obsess over it. I have this one friend, he's just all fucking day, all the time. It's just women. We gotta find, next woman, the next woman, or this one didn't work out, or this would, oh man, when are we gonna find a good? It's just bro, find a fucking hobby. There are so many other fucking hobbies in the world other than dealing with the endless, needless drama that comes with having sex with chicks. You know what I mean? And it's just I don't know, I feel like if people can't find something to a degree that brings them individualized sense of direction or purpose or something, it's how can you ever in your life imagine that you're going to have a successful long-term cohabitation with another human? When I think about my grandfather, he goes down into his little fucking man cave area. He does his little woodworking. He makes a cool-ass horse or a weird Native American teepee bullshit. And sucks up all the sawdust with a fucking shop vac. And that's awesome. He's not cheating. He's not doing anything bad. He's just spending his time in it with his thoughts, maybe in communion with some higher power secretly behind everyone's back. You know, it's just like he's doing his thing. Yeah, fishing is fun. A very healthy relationship with the fictional men in my books. Real people scare me. You're only in the books. You should only be reading books about 7-foot werewolves that will rip off your jeans. Joe, I'm 33 and single. I work and gym, but most of the only people I talk to are from work. Well, then marry somebody from work. I don't know. You'll be fine, dude. Just ask one of them out. Who cares? Just pretend like you're 85 years old and you're like shitting yourself and like some Jamaican lady's wiping your ass and then also hitting you in the head because she's annoyed with you shitting yourself. And then just say like, oh, fuck. I gotta like... I might as well just ask somebody. I might as well just ask somebody out now because I'm gonna regret not doing this. Pretend? Question mark. I got a webtoon for a hobby. There you go. That's fun. You need to have shit you can just do yourself and not worry so much about this, like the acceptance from the opposite sex or same sex or whatever it is, you know. When I used to have a girl to warm the bed, I only see them through Zoom calls. They're old too. Well, you just gotta. I'm sure there's a solution. I know there's a solution. I know there's a solution for that, brother. You can do it. Just jump off. Just jump. Make the big jump. Just ask her if she's a Terry's chocolate orange. You want a cracker. Crack her open. So I think about a week went by, then Rip calls Tom and me to tell us to stay away from the dog patch, at least until later that night because he and Wizard were going on their trip together. Now I'm thinking, cool, okay, see you later maybe, then walk over to Tom's place to hang out and listen to some tunes. It was always a good hang with Tom, but then by about 8 in the evening, we were bored out of our minds and we were itching to practice. Now, I'm not kidding when I say that we used to practice almost every single day, especially once high school ended and we had all this free time on our hands. And so going the whole day without jamming out just made me sort of itchy, you know? And we knew not to drive over to the dog patch not until Rip was done bringing Wizard into quote-unquote alignment. But as 10 p.m. ticked over to 11 and our boredom levels peaked, me and Tom told ourselves that Rip's little ceremony just had to be over by then, and we made our way over to the patch. I remember rolling up, seeing Wizard's car and a light on inside, and then hearing the slightly muted sound of Rip playing his bass on the other side of the cabin wall. We didn't hear Wizard playing at all, but that didn't set off any alarm bells for either of us. And so off me and Tom went, grinning like idiots thinking that we were about to walk in on some clown show, only to walk into a nightmare. We recognized something was wrong right away because Rip was sitting shirtless near his amp, while Wizard's guitar was just lying there. Would you join #DadTalk? I don't know what that is. You do Muay Thai and wrestling in your backyard? That's pretty sick. Do you just have like a fight club back there? Joel, have you considered getting your servant or uncle to go fetch you a wife from the city well? Yeah, maybe you could go grab me one. Out of the fridge. Sampai, Obama. To be honest, I want a house and a dog before I get a girlfriend. Girls are too high maintenance nowadays. Perhaps. Joel, why don't you ask the girl out? Which girl is that? I don't think I'm talking about a girl, am I? I was talking about your guys' mentioning of a girl. Maybe sometimes I read a comment and it sounds like it's me talking about me, but it's not me. Me. Have you played the new Unk Raiders map? I have not, no. I mean, I watched some gameplay. It does look cool, but I don't know, man. I'm just so fucking sick of these, like, extraction shooters acting like because they give you a new, like, sandbox to play in with, like, 1 or 2 new toys. I don't like a girl. I like every girl, bro. I mean, I just, like, now, you know, when you're older, it's the consistency of seeing somebody enough to, like, develop some sort of, like, childlike crush on them anymore. I don't know. It just doesn't. It can happen, but I don't know. I just, the motivation is just not there, nor the care. I mean, it's there. I don't know. It is what it is. What do you think about the hentai virus? I don't know. Just more fucking Freemason 33-degree slop. Just more chaos to throw into the mix of our already chaotic thing. And at any moment, the media is going to start going nuts about it. And then everybody's going to start yelling at each other like, you didn't get the thing. You didn't do the thing. You didn't wash your hands. You know. And I don't know. I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm ready to die by rat poison and shit. And then it's also, in and of itself, I mean, from what I've seen, it's the Andes variant or whatever, which is transmissible between humans, but it's like you have to be in proximity to a symptomatic human for a pretty substantive period of time, you know what I mean? So it's not quite as transmissible as like COVID or whatever, but obviously where COVID was like what, fucking 0.1% lethal or whatever, it was like this is supposedly 40%. So I don't know, presumably if like they actually play things right, you know, you think people would become isolated or treated relatively quickly. I mean, someone did make a pretty interesting point where the United States and like Argentina left. What did they leave? They left the WHO conveniently right before that cruise ship took off from Argentina. Where did it land? In like Spain or some shit? And so, whereas they would have had, and then I guess the first case of the hantavirus on that cruise ship was reported all the way back in like mid-April. So it's like they should have reported that to the World Health Organization, but because they weren't part of it, they didn't have to. I don't know. All of it's just very fucking fishy. And all of the shit all over the news, everything you see is 33 this, 33 that, 33, you know, it's just like, oh my God, here we go again. With their fucking 33s. Fuck your 33 number, bro. The doctor got sick and after treating the 3 patients they were talking about, they stopped mentioning the doctor getting sick as well. I don't know, man. IDK. You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. I blame the aliens. We're talking about aliens and alien disclosure. It all just seems like a bunch of malarkey. I'm gonna go ahead and just say it's the aliens that released the hantavirus to kill all of us on Earth. It's their fault. We recognized something was wrong right away because Rip was sitting shirtless near his amp, while Wizard's guitar was just laying there, face down on the floor. The guitar meant absolutely everything to him, and even if he was out there tripping balls, there's no way that he'd have just left it lying there unless something was wrong. I started asking Rip where the hell he was, but Rip didn't reply. He didn't even look up from playing that weird, distorted bass line over and over, not until we got really close and started waving our hands right in his face. But by the time we were that close, both me and Tom could also see all these little flecks of blood on his chest and arms. We say, "Dude, what the hell happened to you?" But then that led back to the question of where the hell Wizard was. Rip wouldn't stop playing his bass as he looked up at us, and when he did, we could see how his pupils were sort of like these big black circles from where he was clearly still tripping pretty hard. We're telling him to stop playing and talk to us, but he had his amp turned up so high that I could barely hear myself over the sound of it. Tom had to walk over around the back of him. Girl veteran, thank you for the 5. Death by rat poison and shit. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't even care. Respectfully, Joel, you don't understand the 33 degree. You could have listeners with that degree who are normal guys, like completely not involved with anything shady. 33 degrees is a measurement. No, I mean, I know that the Freemason stuff goes up to like 98 or whatever, but you know what I mean? Like, you see it everywhere, and it's like their call sign. Like, they always have this like weird ass call sign whenever like something as big as in the news. It's always like, we looked for the shooter for 33 hours. There was a 33-hour manhunt for the shooter, and blah, 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 you know. And conveniently, the, you know, conveniently, the explosives factory down in Tennessee, where we just so happen to have a government contract with to make like niche handheld explosives, just it by itself just explodes right after like Hegseth visits it. I don't know, just all sorts of fucking weird shit. And you're just like, these guys don't even like try at all to like hide their actions anymore. Lynn, welcome back for 45 months. Today marks T-minus 2 weeks till the official move, 800 miles and 13 and a half hours away. Don't worry, I'm breaking it up. Thank you all for the support. Kisses. Lynn, best of luck with you. That is a long trip from home, but I believe in you. You got this. Do I think the world is ending? No. It's just always changing. The world is always changing. It's consolidating power. I mean, the same people that perpetuate the things on you before, it's not like they just stop. You know what I mean? All the things that you've experienced in the past where it was like a major event, it's not like those things, you know, there's always another plan. There's always another little operation underway, not always moving, everything dropping here, left, right, center, and you just got to be prepared for it. And I think, objectively speaking, you kind of just have to stop worrying about it and just try to make yourself rich. Try to find every possible way you can, like, position yourself to be, like, decently financially well off. Stop hoping that the government is just going to give you, like, UBI or fucking, like, handouts or take care of you with healthcare or anything like that. Like, just stop. Anytime you ever think that I'll just vote my way out of something, it's not going to happen, man. Like, you gotta like take care of yourself and figure it out. As sad as that is to say, I just don't think this system is ever gonna serve any of us as how you want it to. So you just have to be the god of your own world in a strange and abstract way. Ben Wood, welcome to the Butterstock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. And Girl Veteran, thank you for the membership to Suzanne Pie. And David Do with a 5 says, to you from chat, PS, this is still considered socializing, right? Yeah, a little bit, I guess, right? Parasocializing. Happy Mother's Day to my favorite cat parent, Joel. That's true. I am Pradeep's both his mom and dad. And definitely don't ask James Charles for money if you got fired from the Spirit Airlines because he will shame you. Are you dating James Charles and asking him for money? He's on his 15th BBL, bro. He's literally just like, he goes in for a new ass like people go in for their tire rotations, man. He does not have money to hand out. How did me and Pradeep meet? It's my buddy's aunt had a farm, and Pradeep was a little kitten on a farm, and she gave him to me. He made a video dragging this lady and is facing another backlash. Who gives a shit, bro? Like, if there's anyone, I mean, there's so many creators that I could, like, give two shits about, because, like, there's just so many content creators, probably including myself to some degree, where we just become, like, lol cows, you know? You just see them, they're in some type of controversy or they have some type of opinion, and you're just like, it's just mindless, like goy slop, you know? You're like a piggy who buries their head, and I do this too, don't get me wrong. Bury my head in the fucking trough and just start snarfing down a bunch of glippity gloip mixed with apples and gruel. And that's what it is to know anything about James Charles, even if it's just tangentially, is like someone taking a bucket of just farm goo and just dumping it on my head like Nickelodeon Slime Time Live, but way worse. Tom had to walk around the back of him and switch off Rip's amp just so I could be heard, by which point I'm getting pretty mad and I'm yelling at him saying, "Where the F is Wizard?" After telling me to chill, Rip said, "Wizard's not here, man," and then started laughing. I guess because he was doing the old Cheech and Chong bit, but then knowing what I know now, it just feels way, way darker. Tom then says, "His effing car's outside, Rip. Where did he go?" But this only caused Rip to start laughing again. He could barely get hold of his words. What's wrong with Glippity Gloip? There's nothing wrong with Glippity Gloip. Honestly, there's entire subsections of YouTube economies that make money feeding everyone Glippity Gloip. I am one of their biggest consumers. But God, every time, like honestly, okay, so YouTube introduced this new feature. It's like probably one of the greatest features I think YouTube has ever added to like save time. So I can click, let's find a video. Let's find a video that like YouTube wants to trick me into watching. Can't even, oh yeah, here we go. So here's one here. How to grow on social media so fast it feels like cheating. Ugh. From Sam Goodday 10 hours ago. Now, I am not going to waste my time, 15 minutes and 42 seconds of my life, ever listening to my beloved Sam Godot saying anything. So the cool thing is I click this little thing called Ask, and then I click Summarize Video. And then an AI bot on the side will literally tell me with timestamps exactly what to do to become so fucking sick at social media. First, you become someone worth following. Second, do cool stuff and talk about it. 3, give your best stuff away. 4, people follow identity, not just information. 5, people follow transformation, not talent. 6, the stranger test. Whip out your cock in front of everyone. 7, make it personal, not performative. 8, conviction beats charisma. 9, familiarity is a weapon, a nuke. And 10, volume negates luck. Treat social media as a long-term game. Posting consistently creates the reps needed to succeed and make you top of mind for opportunity. Anyways, just like, you know, that's gloppity gloip. I just don't want any more gloppity gloip. And I just, you know, saved you literally probably 13 more minutes of your time listening to a YouTuber make the 50th video of that same type of complete slop over and over and over again. What was number 6? I forget. Let's see. Number 6 was the stranger test. Every video must be engaging within the first 3 seconds to someone who has no idea who you are. Core, casual, and new audience fit. God, dude, it like makes me sick. This guy has 800 views and he's telling you how to get so big you explode inside. Like, what is he talking about? I have like a modicum of success on YouTube, and I don't even know what the fuck to do. Like, if you guys are like, what do I do, Joel? What do I don't fucking know. Just show your tits at this point. That's what I did. We have no more option to make money on the internet. The only thing that's consistent is that people are always horny in like 15-minute increments. Hi Joel and all. Did you catch Dark Somnium's recent live stream? Been listening for years. No, was it cool? Joel, that scares me. The AI features on YouTube is defeating the purpose of watching a video. Yeah, I mean, I feel bad because, I mean, in a weird way, it's kind of doesn't really apply to me because I assume people listen to this to either fall asleep or do something, so they actually want the entertainment value out of it instead of just like summarizing the stories and ruining it. But like when it comes to educational stuff, I mean, like being able to like speed run information, especially whenever literally 99% of the videos on YouTube that's like filled with information tends to just be like fluff. You know, it's just like tons and tons of fluff that could be summarized in a fucking YouTube short. He could barely get his words out from laughing so hard, and when he did, they barely made sense. He didn't go anywhere. He's just not here anymore. He wouldn't give it all up. It was that last part which really got my attention, and I started asking him what he meant by give it all up. To my frustration, Rip just started laughing hysterically again and not being able to get his words out. And as I'm telling him to breathe and focus, Tom walked out the back door, having noticed it wasn't closed all the way. And then, not even a minute later, I hear him screaming. I went running out the back door because I'd never heard Tom make a noise like that, not in all the time I'd known him. And I think just from the sound alone, I could tell that he'd found Wizard. I caught a glimpse of Wizard's shirtless body and how he was lying face down in the dirt outside the cabin, with his back smeared with blood. And there was a lot of it too. Blood, I mean, and so much so that I also... Every girl's fake name on those chats was always Tiffany and Nicole. Which chats? Joel not showing his face as the mystery. It's a great ASMR. Joel, another channel I followed about coding since college. He had hundreds of thousands of views per video. Now he barely has 40K on his videos. He has been consistent, but he said it's AI's fault. Yeah, I mean, I guess in a weird way that would make some sense. I mean... especially, yeah, related to coding. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. The place that I went to like get cards or trade cards with another person, the guy that runs the store was literally going to school for coding, which is so cool because he's like really young and just like started a card store, which is neat, you know. But he started the card store both to like make friends and then also, you know, as a hedging his bets against his own college decision of a career, and basically he's like, yeah, I'm not going to get the $100,000, $200,000 coding job at Google to, you know, move out to California. So I was like, let me go here and just like make friends playing cards and sell a bunch of like overpriced Pokemon shit to 35-year-old men. I was like, that was a fantastic idea. But yeah, so it does sound like coding in general has been like heavily replaced by AI to a degree. Hey man, one day can you do a video of Mothman and other cryptids, or do you already have one? You know, I might have some like decent cryptid videos if you go through the paranormal playlist, but you might have to like, there's a little search bar on the side of YouTube, on my YouTube channel. You might be able to find Mothman. Lynn's the 35-year-old who needs the cards. Morning from all the way over here. How's life? It's good. Life is honestly perfect. My chat name was always Sabrina, after Sabrina the Teenage Witch. What chat name were we talking about? You guys are saying AOL. I do like AI to agree, but Joel is his real authentic self. Example makes the stories more authentic and real. AI takes that away. Yeah, and I feel like, no, all the things AI does is just, like, even just whenever you start to interact with AI, I mean, it's already annoying as fuck when you're in customer service stuff and you have to have a call with like an AI that's like actually kind of convincingly a person, but not quite. It almost just feels like it's like spitting in your face, both in the fact that it's like fired somebody who could have a job to talk to you, and also sitting there trying to pretend that it's human, but it's clearly not, nor does it give a fuck, nor can it really handle the specific questions you might have. Yeah, I don't know, it's just Detroit Become Human, but like the prequel. COD Boy, thank you for the 2 back to back to back. Thank you, broski. I'm always playing that back-to-back comp. Joel, you shouldn't expect Google jobs. They fire people all the time. There's no permanency on those jobs, so you could work remotely and have 2 jobs at the same time. That's what I'm doing. You know, he might. I'm sure he'll find something, unless he just continues to make money at the card store. The Chilling Adventures show on Netflix was my fave. Sabrina, they canceled it. Oh, damn. AI can be beneficial in ways, but people in this company use it to extreme, and it just makes day-to-day life void of any human soul. Yeah, and I feel like slowly over time, I mean, I was seeing something where it was like kids' attention spans are at a maximum of like 8 seconds now, which is super cool, that they're actually have less attention than a fucking goldfish. And then on top of that, like all interactions and everything is going to be placed on AI to figure out literally anything. Write me an email, write me this, like won't even know how to like formulate a fucking sentence, but it is what it is. I mean, if you think about it, like I'm way more retarded than people from like, well, not everyone, maybe not like some, I don't know. There's all sorts of like weaknesses that I have compared to the older generation, some strengths that I have, but you know, so much dementia in the future. Yeah, maybe as we start to like fall into all of our routines, especially with like the use, I mean, didn't they literally say whenever like kids are using those iPads all the time, the iPhones, like just from the young age, you're like not forming appropriate like white matter within the brain. Like the formation of your white matter in your brain is like completely different than most people's white matter, which is like an atrophying of the developmental mind. Okay, so what is this? That Gen Z believes we have poor etiquette online? I don't, who cares, dude? The Gen Z millennial boomer divide or whatever that people want to artificially muck up, it's just made up nonsense. Don't even play into it. I think society developed a fear of missing out when they get something good. What if there's better and they end up with nothing? True. That's how it is with relationships as well, especially with social media. You just like, oh, I could have better, but yeah. But maybe you could, who knows? There was a lot of it too. Blood, I mean, and so much that I also thought that he was dead. And that's what Tom kept saying as he pushed me back towards the cabin. He said I didn't want to see it, the wizard was gone, and that there was no helping him. I told him we needed to go get help. I guess because I couldn't accept what he was telling me, but when he told me wizard head was wizard head, I was getting some wizard head. I guess because I couldn't accept what he was telling me, but when he told me about Wizard's head being cracked open and that we needed to get the hell out of there before Rip did the same to us, it flipped a switch in my mind. I first thought that maybe it had been an accident or something. The Wizard had fallen and smacked his head on a rock while he had been out tripping, and Rip was just too high to even realize or handle it. And Tom had seen the body up close. He'd seen the damage done, and from his perspective, there wasn't anything accidental about them. The next thing, I was back in the cabin yelling, "What the F did you do?" as Tom just kept on pushing me towards his car. He was growling at me to shut up and move, and behind him, Rip was still sitting on his butt with his back across him, his base across him. Gonna give your brother Jose a shout out. What up, Jose? Jose Cuervo. You missed that part. What happened to Wizard? We don't really know what happened to Wizard yet. All we know is he's face down with a crack in his head, bleeding. So he probably got hit with a blunt object or something. The advice was good, but the lady marrying the Ferris wheel sounded bonkers, just to clarify. What's crazy about that, dude? How dare you point out someone's insanities as being insane? He was growling at me to shut up and move, and behind him, Rip was still sitting on his butt with his base across him, smiling as I yelled at him. He wasn't laughing then, though. Smiling, sure, but not laughing. And he was calmly explaining that Wizard couldn't commit, and he had to go. I remember him saying something about another band and how Wizard couldn't make the first acid trip because he was playing with another band someplace. And then in this big, booming voice, Rip called him a traitor and told us we knew your insanities have been deemed insane. That's such a solid life lesson many learn too late or never. I take it to heart. Perspective and gratitude take so far. For sure, dude. Get that tattooed. Get that whole line of text tattooed on your lower back. Do you remember the story they read about the guy who took DMT and ended up finding teeth in the peanut butter jar? That one stood out to me because I could not explain how that happened. I heard a DMT story on Instagram the other day where the guy said that he, smoked DMT pretty frequently, but this time he had ended up at some carnival, some circus of sorts, and that he ran into a woman wearing purple who he immediately knew that he's known her for 1,000 lifetimes. And then he had said that, she was trying to reassure him as he was coming down from his high that everything would be okay. And then she burst into a million different fractals to just amaze him prior to, returning to his normal life. And then he got his friend high, I guess a couple of weeks later with DMT. And then the friend's oh my God, I smoked too much. And then I guess he just went into it and was whoa, dude. And then all of a sudden he said hey man, they know you here. And he didn't really understand what he was saying. He was what do you mean? He's I'm at this circus right now, and everybody at the circus knows you here, man. The elves ran away, but then all of a sudden they're oh, you know Mitch? Oh, you know Mitch? Yeah, we know Mitch. Mitch is cool. And there's this girl here, and she's wearing a purple dress, and she says she misses you, dude. And I guess this guy, never explained the, his previous experiences with DMT, specifically the girl in the purple dress. So the fact that his friend was conveying a message to him via the interdimensional elves, the mechanical elves, yeah. Just very strange. I don't know. I've only ever heard of the mechanical elves within the usage of DMT, so I just it's always weird to me. What the hell is it? I guess they're just demons, right? Everything I don't understand is a demon. Then in this big, booming voice, Rip called him a traitor and told us we knew what happened to traitors. He then launched into some rant about loyalty, but I didn't catch it, because by then, Tom had managed to wrangle me outside. Rip continued to rant and rave as Tom continued to force me towards his car, but by then, Rip's voice was all muffled and barely audible. I guess it was only then that I tuned back into Tom and heard him telling me, "Get in the car, dude. We need to get ready to move." I could not have agreed more because we needed to find some place to call 911, but that's not what Tom had in mind at all, because after I'd climbed into his passenger seat and he climbed in beside me, he didn't start the engine. Instead, he reached across me, opened up his glove box, and pulled out a gun. Now, it might sound messed up, but at the time, I kinda got it. I didn't think Tom was that mad about Rip Van Stinkle, the interdimensional mechanical elf. See, shitification of everything, lower your expectations. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, honestly, that's what sucks is it sucks to think that there's probably never going to be any more geniuses. Well, I feel like there has to be somewhere. But you know what I mean? Well, I don't know. For me to sit there and say that the human race can't generate somebody that can write a story like the Three-Body Problem or H.P. Lovecraft or Ecclesiastes or some you know what I mean, I guess is a bit presumptuous. But it certainly does seem like everybody's mind is just being turned into autism chicken nugget mush, you know what I mean? Just like pink slime goop. The Akashic Records. Akashic Records, baby. I think that's who would release a lot of Diddy's music. The Akashic Records. Alright. I didn't think Tom was that mad about what Rip... I didn't think that Tom was that mad about what Rip had done. I mean, I knew he was mad, but I thought it was more of a sort of, we need to go get this son of a bitch in cuffs before he runs off. But when he said, we need to get out of here, I guess it was because he was planning on committing a murder of his own. And honestly, I understood his thinking, which is why I didn't try to stop him at first. When I realized that if he did shoot Rip, if he walked in there and blew his head off like he deserved, then all 3 of my bandmates would have their lives cut short, and not just 2. The last thing I wanted was for Tom to go to jail for the rest of his life, so after those first few moments of asking, "What are you doing?" but knowing exactly what he was doing, I switched to, "Tom, don't do it. He's not worth it, man." But I couldn't even sell that last part to myself because I didn't believe it. Rip deserved to die for what he did, and I didn't know if I had it in me to stand in front of the bullet. I followed him out of the car just as Rip appeared in the open doorway of the cabin with a big smile still plastered across his mouth. I was still yelling at Tom not to do it, and he already had to put the gun. TOS Creator. Why does that sound like the most ominous name ever? The TOS Creator. Okay, it's just a joke thing. He, his, him. What's up, bro? Welcome to the Buttersuck Cult. You now have access to bonus content. What region of cars do you like more? American, German, Japanese? Probably Japanese. Or maybe Audi. You know, I like German. I don't really know in America. What's good American cars? I don't even know. Do not think and we will give you what we want. Be happy. Exactly. Happy, happy, happy. Happy, 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 happy. I was still yelling at Tom not to do it, and he already had the gun pointed right at Rip's head. But you'd never have guessed it from Rip's reaction alone. He had his arms stretched out to either side of him like he was inviting Tom to shoot him, and he was saying a whole bunch of stuff at the same time, but the thing that stood out was when he said something like, "If you honestly think I deserve to die for it, then go ahead, shoot me." Tom walked right up to him. I mean, so close that he was like pushing the gun against the space between his top lip and his nostrils. And then he stopped and didn't shoot. I remember thinking something to the effect of, "Oh, thank God," because the last thing we needed was another dead body out there. I thought Tom was just going to yell at him because he started screaming all of these curses at him, like he was just going off on everyone he could think of all at once. I thought he was letting off some steam, or just letting off a little bit of steam. Happy, happy, happy. Happy, 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 happy. Oh, a 1979 Lincoln Continental Town Car was a gold metal flake and a 13-foot long with a chrome extension package. People thought I was a drug dealer. Straight pimpin', baby. A pimp named Slickback. Just rolling through town. If you're racing fan, Horizon 6 has been leaked and cracked on PC. Hey, there you go. We don't condone piracy here. We don't condone it. We want everyone to spend $60. Honestly, I would be really happy if everyone spent $100 on video games. I thought he was letting off some steam, or maybe about to pistol whip him, but then, bang. Tom shot Rip right through the mouth, and at least from where I was standing, it killed him instantly. Seeing Rip go down like that, the way he did, and knowing Tom had just pissed his life away killing someone the cops probably would have shot anyway, it hit hard, man. I remember spinning away with my head in my hand, saying, "No, no, no," over and over. I didn't want to look because I couldn't accept it. And then when Tom started yelling at me to get in the car, I couldn't bring myself to do it at first. I kept saying how if I did, we were all going to jail, because that'd me... Oh. Rip to Rip. Rest in peace, Rip Van Winky. Rip Van Stinky. Retards assemble. Would you guys wear a shirt that said "Read Tards" and it's like someone sitting cross-legged reading a little manga? Joel, is tonight a fasting night for you? If not, what is the flippin' nick you did have for Din Din? It was not a fasting night because it was Mother's Day. I ate food with my family, and I got like a meatball sub. It was probably like the complete opposite of fasting. It was food. Food you can eat, too. I didn't want to look because I couldn't accept it. And then when Tom started yelling at me to get in the car, I couldn't bring myself to do it at first. I kept saying how if I did, we were all going to jail, because that'd make me probably an accessory. But then I also realized that if I didn't get a ride someplace, I'd have to walk there to get help, because there was still the voice in the back of my head thinking, maybe they're still alive. We drove until I saw a house with a light on, then demanding he stop. I knew it might be the last time I ever saw him, but we didn't have the luxury of some long, drawn-out goodbye. At the very least, I needed to somehow prove I wasn't involved in all the killing by being the poor bastard to call it in. But like I said, there was still this semi-delusional part of me that thought that I could save the day. I'm glad I followed that instinct. And my wife says it was God speaking through me because he knew all too well that Rip and Wizard weren't quite in his company yet. I used a stranger's phone to direct the EMTs out to where they were, and by some stroke of God's hand, those paramedics discovered them both and that they were still alive. Both Rip and Wizard were rushed to the hospital. Wizard with extensive head injuries, and Rip with a big hole through his cheek and jaw from where the bullet Tom fired smashed through his teeth and out the other side without damaging anything major somehow. Both went into surgery that same night, and both came out okay, albeit with very different paths to recovery. Wizard obviously came off way worse, and after having his skull clamped shut with metal staples and wires, he spent a whole year learning to walk and talk again. He also had to... Oops, I mixed them up. My eyesight is also trash. Unfortunately, the glasses alone are enough to fix the problem, but I really admire your ability to keep going. You're a much stronger person than I am. Who's that, me? Me reading with no glasses at all? Best car these days have a horse in front. Are we going backwards? That's like a Bronco? What else has been new? Did I do anything? Oh, this was kind of a crazy thing. So I was like, this is a very, prepare yourself type story, I guess. Well, it's not even really prepare yourself since it's more specific to myself, but I was with my friend, and he has, he's my age, and he has a girlfriend, and she already has like 3 kids from a previous marriage, but they've been together for a while, and then he told me that he was like, I got good news and bad news. What do you want to hear first? And I was like, I guess don't they say do bad news first, and then the good news will make it up for it? And he's like, let's just do the good news first. And he was like, my girlfriend's pregnant. I was like, oh, fuck, I don't know. I had no idea. And I guess she's like 5 months in, which is, I don't know, just fucking crazy, I guess. Like, it's just, Pregante. Yeah, I don't know. I really didn't expect them, like, kind of having gotten together, like, post-divorce from her previous relationship to, like, jump into a pregnancy type. I don't know. I guess you can't really control that if you're going raw dog. If you're straight, if you got one of them breeding kinks, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, sorry. So the other, then I was like, oh my God, okay, that's crazy. So what is the bad news? And then he just casually says, like, I have cancer. And I was like, what? I don't know, like, it was, and then he proceeds to tell me that he has a stage 1 carcinoma on his thyroid, but it's specific to, like, the right side of his thyroid. So I guess if they do a lobectomy soon, that he'll be able to still have use of his thyroid without issues, and then also eliminate the cancer and not need any sort of chemo or radiation or whatever, just the surgery. But it was just one of those really weird experiences where I was just like, oh fuck, you know what I mean? Because, like, I don't know, you, like, think about a friend telling you that, or you finding it out about yourself or something, but you just, I don't even know. Yeah, literally, like, the dichotomy of life, like, a new one's being born and someone's heading out. But, you know, hoping to God that he doesn't die, because I don't know. He's one of my best friends, and the idea that he would, I don't know. It's just, like, really strange, because, like, you know, we are 36, right? You know, if someone who was 20 years old heard someone who was 30, or say you were 15, right, in high school, and you heard somebody who's 36 is dying of cancer, you're just like, well, they had their shot, you know what I mean? But I don't know, to just get cancer, or really any disease, I guess, at any time, even if you got cancer at, like, 70, I don't think I would want to die then either. Thyroid is pretty curable, though. That's good. That's good to hear. Honestly, that's really good news. But yeah, I don't know. That would just, your fiance had stage 3 lung cancer, 26. Damn, I'm very sorry. I don't know, man. It's just I can't even imagine how that would feel for somebody, a close loved one, or yourself, you know. Because it was wild as well, because, like, then more recently, my other, like, really good friend, you know, they almost died because they found out that they had, like, a dissecting aortic aneurysm, or like a potential aortic aneurysm, or like a dissecting basically aortic artery going up to the neck, I think. Yeah, sorry. A dissecting aortic artery going up to the neck that, like, if it would have, like, it basically, if they didn't catch it, he would have had, like, a massive stroke and died. And, like, if he would have, I don't know, if, like, I really don't want to see any of my friends die, and it's, like, just very fucking weird. Like, if they were to die, that would just be, like, a lot to make sense of, you know what I mean? I went through RAI for my thyroid, total thyroid ablation. They wanted to do surgery, but I was too scared to do it. The doctors told me thyroid cancer is easiest to cure. Okay. What's RAI? Radiation? Is that what it is? Did you ever watch The Walking Dead, and are you scared of Negan? Yeah, Negan was pretty spooky. Couldn't imagine how you feel when you're going through it. Yeah, no, you know, it's not even like I'm looking for any degree of sympathy. It's just, I don't even know. I can't imagine all my buddies. I mean, he seems to be really positive about it. He's like, yeah, you know, I think we're going to be good. He's like, I feel pretty good about it, you know. But he was saying that it was from his apartment building when he lived in New York City, that there was, because basically, I guess when he told his father had developed bone cancer, like, more recently, like, through, like, his bone marrow or something. And I guess he's fine now, but, like, he didn't tell his family. And then he got his apartment tested in New York, and then the whole apartment was just, like, painted with lead paint or something. And I don't even know. But my friend was sitting there saying that like the dust from the lead paint was being like pushed around by the AC unit or something like that. And I'm just like, maybe there's just like a particular type of dust coming off of that, or I have no fucking clue how that all works. But your cousin had thyroid cancer removed and he's doing great. I hope things turn out best with your friend. Thank you, Katie. Appreciate you. RAI is radiation. For thyroid, it's RAI 131 radioactive iodine. Oh, right. You have to quarantine with the treatment for about a week. Okay. Damn, dude. So it was environmental. I don't know. I mean, because like my friend, he's also like, dude, it's so funny. Like all throughout high school, he's just like, this is how his family's been. Never came to football practice, never like worked out, never did fucking anything, and then would just show up to practice like before games and just dominate people. And then like start in like every football game and just like put on like an absolute clinic. And it was one of those things where it was just like the coaches never gave a fuck if he was like late for school, did anything, whatever, because he was just so good at sports. But then I think that kind of mentality transferred to other things in life as well, where he just smoked cigarettes. Like he just smoked cigarettes all the fucking time, didn't give a fuck. I'd tell him to stop smoking fucking cigarettes. He would switch to American spirits because somehow that's like better for you because it has a Native American on it or something. You know what I mean? Oh, it's got a picture of an Arizona sunset. It must be organic or whatever. Organic cancer. Artificial sweeteners are carcinogenic. A new woman who stopped drinking Diet Pepsi, she not only lost 90 pounds but reversed her diabetes, stopped her cancer from stopping Diet Pepsi. Fuck, dude, maybe I've cut it out kind of, but maybe, I don't know. God, I love cigarettes. My fiance was HVAC installer and was suspect he got from the insulation of houses. Yeah, I guess just constant exposure. TCE caused your cancer. Yeah, what is that? American Spirits has less chemicals, supposedly. I mean, it's just so weird. Like, can they not make, like, tobacco without the fucking chemical? I don't know, just, like, so weird. Fake sugars are worse than real sugars. I mean, they say that, but, like, how do we know? I mean, at the end of the day, like, if you're drinking Pepsi, right? It's high fructose corn syrup, just absolute like spiking of your insulin dog shit. Like the absolute fastest way to get fat as fuck is to just drink normal soda all day, every day. I'm not defending diet soda, but I'm just curious what it is. No one ever has an explanation to me. Like, I can understand normal soda being terrible for you because of the sugar. Diabetes is fake? I don't know. I don't think so. 2026 diabetes hoax proven fake. This is my third month without coffee, also drinking small Pepsi in different flavors. Honestly, I feel great. That's good. Fake sugar has been known to make you actually crave more sugary stuff. I mean, that's understandable if you can but if you can control it, that, like, I can understand that from like some sort of study, but I don't think it, from what I've seen, I haven't seen any studies saying it actually affects your insulin, maybe your gut biome a little bit. I don't know. My doctor says if you're diabetic, they recommend maple syrup because it's the lowest glycemic index, filled with antioxidants, and the sugars get killed in your stomach within 5 minutes. Really? Which brand of maple syrup? Because I'm sure there's a ton of it. Probably Aunt Jemima's, right? Aunt Jimmy John's. Gut biomedical affects mental health for sure. Yeah, I think that's why the Ozempic is making everyone like depressed and sad. Even modern builds are fed by old lead pipe water, go figure, right? It's tough to drink club soda by itself, but I got used to it. You thought dates were the lowest GI? I mean, it would make sense, like the ones that are primarily fibrous material, but I'm just thinking like maple syrup. I mean, it has to be like straight from the fucking tree. Joel, take care of yourself. I'm trying, man. feel like I do a pretty good job at it. I probably could do quite a bit better. Fake sugar acts like real sugar because your body doesn't know the difference. But it's like inert, so I don't know. You're saying it does increase? If someone can find a study, can someone like AI, I'll just do it real quick. Is there any studies to suggest fake sugar is worse for you than normal sugar? What is fake sugar? Like sucralose, aspartame, things like that. There are studies suggesting some fake sugars have many downsides, but I would not simplify it to fake sugar is worse than normal sugar across the board. The best read is normal sugar is clearly harmful, and excess adds calories, worsens dental health, can raise triglycerides. Sugary drinks are strongly linked with weight gain and metabolic disease like diabetes. Artificial sweeteners are not a free health hack. The World Health Organization reviewed the evidence and advised not using non-sugar sweeteners for weight control or reducing chronic disease risk because long-term benefits are not convincing, and some long-term observational data link them with higher risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease. Yeah, but what's the link? When they say there's a link, it just means that like most likely someone who already has fucking type 2 diabetes and eating like a fucking idiot elsewhere is probably also consuming diet soda. So it's like a correlation causation type argument. The more concerning studies are mostly about specific sweeteners. Erythritol, found in many keto and zero sugar products, has some of the strongest red flags. A 2023 Nature Medicine study linked higher erythritol levels with major cardiovascular events and found erythritol could increase platelet reactivity, thrombosis potential. Oh shit. A 2024 Cleveland Clinic study also reported increased blood clotting potential after erythritol compared with sugar in a small human intervention study. Sucralose, saccharin, stevia, aspartame. A 2022 Cell randomized trial found that some non-nutritive sweeteners altered the gut microbiome and caused person-specific changes in glucose tolerance. That does not prove that they are worse than sugar, but it argues against the old idea that they're metabolically inert. Oh. So the practical answer is for fat loss, replacing full sugar soda with diet soda can help reduce calories, especially short term, but for the long-term health, the best move is to reduce your dependence on very sweet drinks and foods in general. Shit. What about something else? Like you said, control is key. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses, one horse-sized dick? Straight up ride it. When they account for the effects of poverty, the negative health outcome of artificial sweeteners drops below statistically significant. Poverty was a far better indicator of poor health outcomes. Yeah, there's probably so many other like variables that go into determining someone's long-term health than fucking just Diet Pepsi. What doesn't give you cancer or diabetes at this point? Yeah, I guess like maybe steak and chicken and broccoli and water. Wizard obviously came off way worse, and after having his skull clamped shut with metal staples, and he spent... Wizard obviously came off way worse, and after having his skull clamped shut with metal staples, he spent a whole year learning to walk and talk again. He also had to relearn how to play guitar, which was messed up on a whole other level. Now, he said he could remember how to play all the stuff he used to, but it was like his hands had forgotten. It said it made him feel like his brain had been translated into another body or something, like it was really freaky like that. And he had all the support of his friends and family too, and Wizard was a popular guy. Whereas Rip, he didn't have much in the way of family, and after people heard about what he did, no one wanted to associate themselves with him. He ended up living with expensive scarring on both sides of his face, and after he recovered from his surgery, he was put on trial for attempted murder, pled guilty, and ended up going to prison for just over 10 years. I heard he got into the logging industry and probably had guys wondering how the heck he got those scars, but whether or not he told them the truth or told them at all, that's a question I don't have the answer to. I never did see him again, and I never saw Tom again either. My guess is that he left the country thinking that he'd killed Rip and... Oh, no way. This guy went on the run. He went on the chun. What happened to Glass Voss Waters? Oh yeah, I remember those. That is kind of weird. You should look it up. Would arise if you drank like 17 sodas a day for 5 years, not just a couple a day. Yeah, it's hard to say. What's up, Ollie? I'm tired, boss. Everyone's organ to have a timer. Eating well makes your beta cells live longer, for sure. My guess is he left the country, thinking he'd killed Rip and fearing the death penalty, since the state restarted. My guess is he left the country, thinking he'd killed Rip and fearing the death penalty. What the fuck is this? My guess is he left the country, thinking he'd killed Rip and fearing the death penalty, since the state... And fearing the death... I don't even know, bro. My guess is he left the country, thinking he'd killed Rip and fearing the death penalty, since the state restarted executing people, just executing people. God fucking damn it. I don't know why. Some of these sentences make no sense. Do you guys ever crave the lizard milks? Oh yeah, I love lizard milk. What's up, Vinny? Amazing how you pay for food that makes you ill and then rely on those that make you better. It's not fair. Yeah, it was just sad that this is stories about the Ozarks, and it's literally just about like interband drama, so it has like nothing really to do with the Ozarks at all, other than just being in that general area, I guess. My guess is he left the country thinking he'd killed Rip and fearing the death penalty, since the state restarted executing people just a year or two prior. We actually wrote a song about it, since the method they used was lethal injection. Tom thought it was cool because the concept scared the crap out of him, so when faced with the prospect for real, I don't blame him for swapping Tom for El Tomo Tomo. Tom thought it was cool because the concept scared the crap out of him, so when faced with the prospect for real, I don't blame him for swapping Tom for El Tomo Tomo, if you know what I'm saying. And the only person I kept in touch with, who I'm still in touch with, is Wizard. He moved out to California to try and make it big playing guitar, and while in many respects he achieved his dream, he realized the touring schedules and the lifestyle just wasn't for him. He switched to being a session musician and tutoring kids on the side, and then since he found it so rewarding, he switched to tutoring full-time and ended up making enough to support his wife and 2 kids of his own. Now, it's nice to think that he's doing okay, but sometimes I feel like I'd do just about anything to know how Tom's doing, and it makes me sad to think that these days I might pass my best friend from childhood in a busy street and not know him from Adam. So Tom, if you just so happen to hear this, reach out, buddy. I miss you. What are you paying your editors for? Might as well use AI to gather stories at this point. I don't know if you could use AI to gather stuff within... I mean, maybe you could search it with an email. I mean, it wasn't anything bad about it. It was just the way that the sentence was, like, formatted there. It was just, like, confusing. Reach out, Tum. No clankers. Guys, please... Hey, cool it with the anti... What would be like the anti-Semitic equivalent term for like robots that they're going to use in the future? I think they'll just call it transphobic. Like, if you use the term clankers 10 years from now, once, like, Peter Thiel is in charge and Larry Ellison decides whether you live or die, I feel like they're just going to call it transphobic because you're making fun of the transhumanist movement. Transformic, yeah. Clankphobic. We gotta get ahead of this, guys. We gotta get ahead of all the words you can't say in the future. We have to dictate them. You said you were moving to Europe. Who said that? Not me. I don't want to move to Europe. Bot sexual. Us Helldivers shall not let the clankers take Super Earth. That's a good point. For Super Earth, my leg. A medalist, yeah. Bunch of medalists in the chat. I'm gonna get Reddit threads about me. It's like, Let's Read just completely allows his chat to run rampant with medalist propaganda. Did you ever notice that like Reddit is just like full of a bunch of tattletales? Like, if you like look at like Reddit and Twitter, whenever they like, if you really break it down to like what it means to like create a cancellation thread, or like a cancellation sort of like snark or whatever you want to call it, it's really just like one big fucking tattletale thread in like a lot of ways, where like it's just a bunch of grown people who like appeal to authority, but they have like no real power, so they just appeal to like the authority that they perceive via the hive mind of like another echo chamber. And it's just like, I knew that they were like that. I always knew that they were problematic and not quite the same as me. Everybody that's not exactly my genome and brain structure is fucking done. 4chan as well. Well, 4chan, 4chan is weird. Like, what? They don't really go out of their way to... Well, I guess they do, but they do it in like a trolly way. Like, what does 4chan do? It comes up with like flags. It comes up with like various like trolling things. I don't know if it does it really anymore. I don't even know how cohesive it is. But they don't really like ever get on some like moral high horse about like different types of perspectives. They just kind of like call someone something bad and then move on, it seems like. I guess. Reddit is a breeding ground for losers who have no life except to simp and be a troll. Yeah, what did they call it? To hate and goon and be in the perpetual state of hating and gooning all day. 4chan can track down bad people at times. Oh, that's true. I guess that's kind of like their cancellation stuff, is literally weaponizing their actual autism for government level tracking. I wonder if you can say happy birthday to my brother who just turned 21. Happy birthday, bro. Stay safe and honestly, don't drink too much. Have a little bit, but don't let alcohol take over your life, because it destroys everyone that lips it touches. Do I have a beard? I've grown a little bit of facial hair here and there in my life. Enough to be considered homeless from time to time. Alright. I was raised by a single mom in trailer parks all over the southern Ozarks, and while it definitely wasn't a childhood I'd want for my own kids, I can't say my mom didn't try. In fact, she did a fine job. She worked her butt off to keep a roof over our heads and food on our table, and aside from a few isolated incidents, I'd say the vast majority of my younger years were very happy ones. But there's this one thing that really stands out to me. From back when I was in 3rd grade, and it kept me up at night for weeks afterwards wondering what in the world had really happened. And so for the longest time, we had these neighbors to the right of us who coincidentally were also a single mom and daughter. There was the daughter, Janine, and the mom, Carla, but unlike us, they were like a whole generation older. Janine was just younger than my mom, so maybe late 20s, early 30s, and Carla had to be in her 60s or 70s. I remember her being fairly active when I was much younger, but by the time I turned 9, she'd gotten really sick with something. So sick, in fact, that she spent most of her time in bed. I'd see her out on the porch every now and then, sitting in her wheelchair, but she didn't talk much anymore. She barely even looked over at me whenever I waved to her. It was really sad, seeing her waste away like that and only ever being in that gosh darn chair. But then one night, things got weird. Like really weird. And so, on the night in question, I remember waking up and feeling like I was about to wet the bed, and so I took myself off to the bathroom as quickly and quietly as I could. I did my business, and then thought that I'd get myself a drink of water before heading back to bed. Those summer sharts. Single mother of 2 kittens. What is Let's Read fam? What's good, Bloodlight? How we doing? Did you guys like the most recent bonus content from listening to it? Did you enjoy that experience? Would you like more? Would you like to know more? Those summer nights in Arkansas can get pretty stifling sometimes, even up in the hills, so I remember being really parched and having this absolute need for some water. And then as I'm standing in the kitchen, looking out this little window at Janine and Carla's trailer as I'm gulping down a glass full of water, I could have sworn that I saw Carla standing in her bedroom window. And at first I couldn't tell if it was just a trick of the light because we almost never saw her standing up straight like that anymore. Not unless she had the support of something like her chair or the wall or something. But when I raised my arm and waved to her, she waved back. I was happy, really happy in fact. It had been the first time that we'd interacted like that in what felt like months, and I figured that there had to be maybe some improvement in her condition. Now I remember going back to bed in a very good mood before drifting off to sleep again, and then the next morning, it totally slipped my mind until I was ready for school. Already at school. Is this the last story? No, we got one more after this, but I need to move. I wonder if you have a scary military stories in the collection. I do, yeah. I think I got a few military story related stuff. And then also individual military stories kind of spattered throughout. Joel, is there going to be a test on this later? There shall. This is the YouTube finals. Rest in peace, the poop screen. I know we haven't seen it in a minute. Seen it. I need to... I don't even know what I need. It doesn't matter. I need nothing. I remember going back to bed in a very good mood before drifting off to sleep again, and then the next morning, it totally slipped my mind until I was already at school. By the time I got back home again, I guess it wasn't that high on my list of mental priorities because I didn't mention it to Mom then either. It was only the second time it happened that I brought it up with her, and that happened exactly a week later on another Thursday night. It had been a confusing week because Carla hadn't interacted with me during the daytime, and I think I'd seen her maybe 3 or 4 times during that entire whole period. She'd always been sitting out on the porch getting some fresh air, but every time I'd wave, she'd do that same thing of just sort of not even looking at me, like she couldn't, even if she wanted to. I didn't understand why she was being so hot and cold with me. I mean, I knew it was most likely her illness getting her in the daytime. It was just weird that she'd be so active at nighttime after being up all day while being taken care of by her daughter. But then, just like the previous week, I ended up waking up during the night, not to go to the bathroom, but for a glass of water. And then as I'm looking out the window again, there she was, again. We went through the same ritual. I waved at first, and then she waved back. Only that time I took the time to look a little harder, and a little longer too. I couldn't see Carla's face, but I also couldn't tell if that was because no light was actually catching it, or she had her neck down so she was looking at the floor and all her hair was covering her face. I remember getting really creeped out at that second thought for a second, but I soon calmed down because how could she know that I was waving unless she could see me? I tested it out, gave her a second wave, and when she returned it, I figured that I just freaked myself out a little bit. Of course she could see me, I was just being silly, and I still went to bed feeling a little bit creeped out while wondering exactly what was wrong with that poor, sweet old woman. Now, the next morning, I brought it up with Mom at breakfast and told her Carla had been waving to me from her bedroom window. I was about to ask if she knew what was wrong with her and why she might be all active and looking out the window at night. At first, Mom asked, "What did you say?" Like I somehow confused her. And then when I confirmed, I remembered her looking almost sorry as she basically told me, "Oh, honey, you didn't see Carla. That must have been Janine." I was sure it was Janine. I saw Carla's skinny arms. It was Carla's bedroom I was looking at, and I saw the same nightdress that she'd worn. Hello. Wartime Stories, awesome. Oh yeah, it's a great channel. I like that the stories are being grouped and organized into volumes because I always find specific stories. Yeah. I need to make more playlists specific to like different things. You just heard a tap on your window? Bro. Tippity tapping at my window. Does anyone play Warframe? Yeah, not Justin. Guys, if Justin ever tries to convince you he plays a video game, he's just like Googling top video games that make it seem like I do things that are gamer stuff. That's his exact Google inquiry. And then the Google AI says, "Oh, you're probably thinking of Warframe. Warframe is a futuristic ninjutsu-based game. And also you should pretend that you're human by saying you play Fortnite. And you got a winner chicken dinner." I saw Carla's skinny arms. It was Carla's bedroom I was looking at, and I saw the same nightdress that she was wearing in the daytime, too. All parts that were lit up from the outside, I just couldn't see her face. I remember insisting to my mom that yes, it was definitely Carla, and then after she just sighed, she told me why that could not have been Carla waving to me from the window. You see, her condition had worsened to the point where she couldn't get out of bed, and she was only awake for a few hours a day, and when she was, it was only ever in the daytime, and she was way too weak to do anything. I just got a text. I need to assemble a group of the best warriors to represent Earthrealm in a tournament of Mortal Kombat. Anyone in? Who's in? Guys, if you could invent a Mortal Kombat character, what would it be? Justin, have you released any new music on your world tour? We gotta check that. Oh, there's a new Justin Ballas song that just dropped 3 days ago, guys. Listening party starts right now. We're not even asking permission. He can copyright strike us all he wants. Yeah. New face in a crowded room. Same drink, but it tastes brand new. I'm lost and I kinda like it. This is his Mortal Kombat intro music. No map, but my heart's invited. Every step feels like a question. He's the only fighter with a thong on, besides the chicks. It's not the same song. This one's the official lyric video. It's different. Every heartbeat singing strong. I'm at home inside this moment. I don't know. Drop the motherfucking bass.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Strange hands reaching out to mine.
AI music? How dare you say that about Justin Balas? It's linked there if you guys want to listen. Honestly, that would actually go hard if General Grievous was just like fighting with lightsabers with that song in the background. Do you think Goro whacks off with all 4 arms? I hope so. I hope his dick is big enough for 4 arms. Please don't copyright strike me. I can't handle another one. It will put me in ruins. Runes! Absolutely ruined. Alright, now that we're all officially awake and straight up bricked up, promise us, Justin, you would never use AI to make music. Promise us. You see, her condition had worsened to the point where she couldn't get out of bed. She was only awake for a few hours a day, and when she was, it was only ever in the daytime, and she was way too weak to do anything but just lie there and talk. I hadn't been out of bed in weeks by the time I thought I saw her, so there was no way in hell that she could have just stood there by her bedroom window at night, waving at me. I knew better than to argue. Mom was never one for back-talking. Just beats the shit out of her. So another thing I fear is that creators might use my videos for reactions. I'll have to pay for at least 30 pieces of basswood slabs each month. Do I put on the description not to copyright my vids? I mean, YouTube, I think, has automated systems or something where if your video's used somewhere, like a reaction, you can then monetize their video. But sometimes reactions, like having a positive positive interaction with reaction channels is good to, like, grow, you know what I mean? What's up, Shorn? How you doing, dude? Good to see you. I knew better than to argue. Mom never was one for back-talking. But I also knew it in my heart of hearts, even though I was only 9 years old at the time, how that must have been Carla I was looking at and not Janine. It only happened once more, as in sort of I only saw Carla in the window at night one more time, and on that occasion, I didn't bother waving to her. I was just too creeped out. I thought about yelling for my mom, but I also knew that if I did, fate would make it so Carla disappeared from the window and would make it look like I was just making stuff up. I even tried it out too. I walked back to my room and then crept into the kitchen and looked to the window, and then what do you know? Carla was gone again. Like it was her trying to cause trouble by, I guess you might these days say, gaslighting me. I still hoped that she was getting better, even if people said she wasn't, but in reality, Carla wasn't long for this world. I remember seeing a minister and assistant stop by one day, driving this big fancy sedan, well, fancy to me anyway, and they stopped by Janine and Carla's place, and I remember asking my mom why. She told me that Carla probably wanted to get right with God before her time came, and how that's what sick people do sometimes when they're close to the end. I believed it at the time, but nowadays I think differently about that. Differently. Why would someone react to that? What are you talking about? Some of the biggest react channels in the history of react channels, such as Blasphemous HD, one of his most viral videos is him reacting to a woodworking video of Five Nights at Febby's. That was copywritten because you can't do woodworking of Five Nights at Febby's. It makes Scott Cawthorne go fucking nuts, dude. Joe, I watched the movie Civil War from May 24 and it was super good. It was really interesting seeing the touches on political sides. Holy crap, what did it say, dude? Did it transcend the left and the right? Really makes you think, don't you think? Actually, both sides are good. That's my political take for the day. Democrats and Republicans are actually both kick-ass. You guys both rock. You guys are actually so sick. You do whatever I tell you to do. Because I pay you. I believed it at the time, but nowadays, I think differently about that visit. Lots of strange things happen in the Ozarks, especially in the darker, less traveled areas of the mountains. It's not uncommon for people to seek the help of the church when their loved ones are really sick or acting strange. And while I don't know exactly what that minister did, I know a couple of days later, Carla passed away. Me and Mom went to her funeral, and I remember people expressing almost this sort of feeling of relief. Relief that Carla was no longer suffering from whatever illness it was. But looking back on it, I'm not sure it was an illness, at least not in the conventional sense. I just hope that whatever that minister did, it brought her everlasting peace. You got the house, Carol. Congratulations. You saw Hokum and got scared. That's cool. Yeah. What other movies come out? There's Hokum. Is that the horror movie? And then there's the one called Obsession. There's a movie called Obsession coming out. All the back rooms. That's right. Anybody going to see that? My one friend's so funny. He's just, I don't know, he's a very different guy. I think I mentioned about him to you guys before, but he just, growing up, he was, sort of in, special ed, but he was one of my best friends because we would, play football together, and he's just, I don't know, he's just a really, really funny character who, smokes so much weed, probably 3 hits of the dabs, and he has his pen constantly going all the time. And I remember whenever he first started smoking weed, I was like, this guy is probably not the best case scenario for him to be smoking weed. But whenever we were watching that Sean Strickland fight yesterday, which was just really funny because there was a crazy fight before the Sean Strickland, fight, and it was some Japanese guy versus I think a Filipino guy, and it was just nuts. It was going insane. And then my buddy, his name is Joey, he just out of nowhere is like, after this fight, can you guys give me a ride home? And I was like, what? No, because we paid for we paid for the pay-per-view, and the second to last fight was just ending, so or coming to an end, so we would have had to drive him home and then miss most of the beginning of the main event. It was just really funny because then he gets pissed. He's like, what the fuck, dude, I have to work tomorrow. And it's but he didn't mention that at all prior. And anyways, one of the funnier moments also besides that was later on, there was an advertisement for the back rooms. I was like, Joe, you gonna go see the back rooms? And he was like, it's not out till the end of the month. I was I don't know why. I just say, oh, sorry, it's a good point. The movie is not out for another 2 weeks, so I probably shouldn't even ask that fucking question. What an idiot I am for even pondering whether you would enjoy something like that. Are you gonna see the new Star Wars movie? Is there a new Star Wars one? Joel's bullying. Dude, he bullies me, bro. I've known him since we were fucking 14. And he bullies my ass. I can't plan more than 1 hour in advance. Yeah, pretty much. Joe, I'm sorry I'm late. I just finished Pragmata. Hopefully I didn't catch the end of it live. No, we got one more story. How was it? Was that game fun? I literally know nothing about that game other than Twitter's retarded takes. But looking back on it, I'm not sure it was an illness, at least not in the conventional sense. I just hope that whatever that minister did, it brought her everlasting peace. What the fuck happened in that story? Was the daughter taking her body and like moving her body around or some shit. Friends who bully you keep you honest. It's true, honestly. Like, friends are the only ones that are ever gonna like tell you that you're a fucking idiot. And if you don't have friends that like ever call you out on being an idiot, then, or like, you know, call you out on your shit, then are they really even your friends? Or just your series of yes men who don't really care about you? Hey Joe, I absolutely love your channel. It's one of the only reasons I get on YouTube. Keep being awesome. Thank you, you heart Stasia. I found something also out about the YouTube algorithm that should have been like obvious, that I'd known for a while. But at the end of YouTube videos, if you can keep people watching, obviously you want people to like click your video, you want people to like your title and your thumbnail, you want people to stick with your video as far as they can with like minimizing your drop off. But the one thing that's like probably the most important thing about a YouTube video that YouTube's algorithm considers, I guess, is you want people to stay on YouTube. So like after your video, just give them like one option that's like best for the viewer. Do a call to action that's like, yeah, check out this one, or, you know, some sort of call to action that like maintains their existence on YouTube, not even your channel, but just on YouTube in general, and then that video will probably do better. Batsy, thank you for the gift or two. Matthew, welcome. Can I stream your song? You have a song on your YouTube page? Let's check it out. It better not be racist. Oh my god, what the fuck is this? This looks racist. The most racist song you've ever heard. Oh my god, everybody in our chat is just a straight musician. This is pretty sick. This is Robot Racism song. This is kind of sick, I'll be honest. This is Ollie singing. Disco is back, baby. Wait, there's yodeling in this? Get it. Oh, there it is. Yodelay, yodelay, yodelo. Yodel. Oh my god, it's actually yodeling in a fucking techno song is brilliant. Fuck yeah, dude. I can't wait till one of my future kids is obsessed with an AI artist who's not real. And they're also just like kind of Korean. I gotta hear one more yodel from this. Justin and Ollie have to collab. Here we go, baby. Drop it. Here we go, here we go. Fuck yeah. Dude, this kind of kicks ass. Dale, YOLO. You heard it here first. The world premiere of Yodel Techno Flow by the Disco Neckties. And now we're going to listen to an hour-long podcast about the niche differences between special illustration rare Pokemon cards. You're making me want to collect my video game works. As long as it's real. As long as it's real. Alright guys, one more story here. Can we get it done before 1 a.m.? Throat singing. Yeah, throat singing techno would be sick. I feel like I've heard that somewhere actually. It's before AI even existed. Can we even trust anyone anymore? What even is real? I don't know. Alright. It was a hairy and bushy night. Just imagine like someone sitting in their bed in their panties, like listening to me with through their headphones, and it was a hairy and bushy night, and then their bush is like creeping out of their underwear. I've been a journalist all my life. I can't say I've worked anywhere particularly prestigious, but I made a living mostly through sports journalism. I've met some fine people in that time, some I remember well, and some that are beginning to slip my mind as the years go by. But out of all of them, there's one man whose name I'll never, ever forget, and that's a guy by the name of Chris Woods. Chris was a veteran of the Country Gazette that I worked at back when I was still just a pup, and he was held in such high regard that he worked GA. And they had that techno flow. Just sitting in their bed with a full bush out, listening to techno flow, collabing with Justin Ballas, sending memes right to Justin Ballas's DMs. What a dream. Chris was a veteran of the Country Gazette that I worked at back when I was still just a pup, and he was held in such high regard that he worked GA, or General Assignment. Now, that's when a journalist is trusted to pick their own subjects, usually on account of their impeccable nose for a story, and so you can imagine how skilled Chris was, how much we all looked up to him, and how devastated we all were when he suddenly passed away one winter. His car was found parked up on the War Eagle Bridge with a note on the driver's seat explaining how there had been a diagnosis and how he was too tired to fight it. People were shocked. Some respected his right to choose, but others didn't and said that he should have fought. But to my eternal shame, I didn't have the heart to tell them that none of it was true. You see, the night before he passed, Chris came to me with one of those big old brown envelopes in his hand, A4 size. He told me he was going to meet with someone, and that if the meeting was successful, he'd be on his way to writing the biggest and most important story of his entire career. He was working under an assumed identity, and while that sounds unethical, trust me when I say that it was very common journalistic practice, probably even more so these days. Chris thought that he had all of his bases covered and had his mark completely fooled. But he also told me that he had this creeping sense of doubt about the whole thing. When I told him if he had his doubts that he should call off the meeting, he said he couldn't. He said he was into... Nick Ventura, welcome back for 8 months. Bush. George Bush. Dick and Bush. 2028. What if George Bush Jr. and Dick Cheney just... Dick Cheney's ghost ran for president again? Would you guys vote for him? Yo, Mama Kitchen Witch, what's up, dude? Sometimes I close my eyes and see a massive flaming spectral eye that sits atop the dark tower of Barad-dûr in Mordor. It's kind of funny, my dad was actually playing Shadow of Mordor earlier. He said, Joel, I need another game soon. I've almost beat this one. And I've never actually played Shadow of Mordor, but it's actually looks pretty fucking sick. I finished Middle-earth Shadow of War last month. Oh, that's dope. Yeah. It looks cool. I mean, like, it's a PS4 game, but honestly, I feel like video games have not changed that much in the past, like, 5 to 7 years. Yeah, he's literally a gamer dad. If you guys have any suggestions for him, I have purchased him for his PlayStation 5, one of those, like, disc trays. So now he can play, like, PS4 discs and I guess other ones. If there's any games you think he should try, I'll let... Is he bald? He is not bald, no. He's got a big old afro. Like a globetrotter. I've gone to Hobbiton... Oh yeah, isn't there a whole ass Hobbit game coming out? Red Dead 2. Yeah, he's played Red Dead 2 already. He has a PS5. Yeah, I bought it for him. He's got bushy toes, yeah. Bald like Gollum.
Oh, my precious PlayStation 5.
What do I put on chicken, broccoli, and brown rice to make it taste like Taco Bell? I'm sure there's like a seasoning. It's pretty good. Resident Evil 9 or Pragmata. I don't know, honestly. Like, I don't really know anything about the gameplay of Pragmata. And I'll be real with you, like, Resident Evil 9 looks fine, but I just feel like it's not that much different than the previous ones, so I just, like, wasn't too super stoked about it. When I told him if he had... When I asked him if he had doubts that he should... What is it saying? I don't understand. When I told him if he had his doubts... When I told him if he had his doubts, he should call off the meeting, he said, okay, Jesus Christ. Did you see my earlier message about Pragmata? I did not. No, can you type it again? Sorry. I'm slightly confused. Bush out. Does that mean a beard? Yeah, everybody get your beard out. It's called a lower beard. The clam's beard. I still love that one meme where it's like someone's like it's like a drawing of someone playing Animal Crossing, and like, you know, they have got the screen on or whatever, but then the game turns off and then you just see the person's like reflection in the screen of their like Nintendo Switch, and they're just like a disgusting monster. And just how incredibly like relatable that is. Isn't a beard a gay guy? Isn't a beard a gay guy a woman goes on a date with to deter? There's too many fucking terms, guys. We gotta get... guys, listen, we gotta make a pact. Everyone put your hand in right now. Tomorrow, we're all gonna go outside and touch some fucking grass and not know a bunch of things about the internet. 1, 2, 3, go. When I told him if he had his doubts he should call off the meeting, he said he couldn't. He said he was in too deep and that the rewards were too high, and that if he didn't show, he might spend the rest of his entire life wondering about what could have been. But if anything did happen to him, I was to give the envelope to a buddy of his who worked at a paper over in... Oh my God. Clover grass. Go outside and touch some clover grass and not some bush. Tomorrow we're gonna all shave our bush. It's gonna be bush shaving day, and we're all gonna go touch the outdoors. Actually, maybe it's best to keep the bush because it'll protect us. I don't know. No, don't worry about it. But if anything did happen to him, I was to give the envelope to a buddy of his who worked over at a paper a city over. Because inside were all the notes, audio recordings, and photographs he'd collected during his investigation into the Cave Creek Baptist Church. Chris first mentioned the church about 6 months prior after a weekend spent visiting his elderly mom. She still lived in the house that he grew up in, way out in a little town called Mount Judea. I've driven through there once or twice, and it's a pretty little farm town set in the middle of a wide valley. Chris used to go down there to spend the whole weekend with her sometimes and said that there were 2 things that she always made him do without fail: peel potatoes and go to church with her on Sunday mornings before he drove back to Fayetteville. Is this how you say it? Fayetteville? Sounds like a slur that no one should say ever. Fayetteville. There's always a girl on the cover of Forvo who's I've been looking at for like years. She's not real, but she's secretly my wife. Okay. Chris used to go down there to spend the whole weekend with her sometimes and said there were 2 things that she always made him do without fail: peel potatoes and go to church with her on Sunday mornings before he drove back. Chris said that they went to the same church all their lives, and then one day, out of the blue, his mom says the girls from her bridge club had all started going to this place out near Cave Creek, and how it's undergone a beautiful renovation after a sizable anonymous donation. Now, I remember Chris saying how it sounded like good news at first. It's not often some old rural church falls into disrepair only to be saved by some wealthy benefactor whose granddaddy had been baptized there or something. So, being only too happy to see the church in all its newfound glory, Chris drove his mom over to the creek and laid eyes on the church there for the very first time. And boy, did he take a lot of notes on it. I had to go through my old copy of the files that he gave me to get all this right, but these were all the things he noted. Most rural churches have floors made of concrete, wood, or carpet, but Cave Creek Baptist had marble. Chris's mom said it was one of her friend's nephews who got the contract for the floor, and that he earned himself a very generous paycheck installing underfloor heating. The church's new sound system was equally impressive. Chris said he used to review rock and roll. Oh. Sonomi, what's up, dude? Justin Ballas is changing his name to Justin Bush. Bushes. Justin Bushes. Who writes these stories? You do! My loyal viewers! Send your stories in to letsreadsubmissions@gmail.com and you might hear it in the next video. Joel's your dad, Gen X. Bring him on this Saturday. Record some fighting at Cooper's Lake. Hopefully the weather is decent. Record some fighting? What do we do? I have to fight? You want my dad to go fight people? Is it one of those like dad fighting competitions where it's like my dad's stronger than your dad and we're actually finally living it out in the future? Except now they're fucking in their 50s and 60s. I'm so jealous that you can change your voice and make impressions. I've never been able to do that. It's super cool, Joel. Oh, you can do it. Honestly, I'm not joking. Like, it's just practice. And I guess, honestly, it's practice because I've been practicing since I was little. Like, every time I'd ever heard any dumb fucking cartoon voice, I just mimicked it, you know? And maybe that was just my natural inclination to mimic things, but that doesn't mean that in the same way that, you know, maybe you learn an instrument organically or something like that. You just kind of like, you start now and you just do it. What's a blue neck? The church's new sound system was equally impressive. Chris said that he used to review rock and roll shows down in Little Rock for one of the papers there, saying they were some of his favorite assignments. And that's how he got interested in concert setups and how he recognized that Cave Creek Baptist was now complete with top-of-the-line speakers, sophisticated baffles, a digital mixing console, and even wireless microphones for those who stood at the pulpit. Now outside they had hand-laid stonework on the foundation and steps and a paved parking lot with LED lighting and security. Joe has a face. It's been exfoliated off. The James Cameron ones where they have to replace the Nave and the Navi actors for culturally sensitive. Joe, how do I promote content to fall asleep to? That's what I want my channel to be, but it's getting slept on. No one is viewing it. Yeah, it's tough, man. What's your channel? We could look at it. We could get some subscribers now. Outside, they had hand-laid stonework on the foundations and steps, and a paved parking lot with LED lighting and security posts. The landscaping included an irrigation system along with these beautiful specimen trees that looked like they were transplanted from a botanical garden. A whole extra structure had been built on the side, something they called a fellowship hall. Now, Chris didn't get to look all the way inside, but from a window he saw a professional-grade kitchen with quartzite Chris didn't get to look all the way inside, but from a window he saw a professional-grade kitchen with quartz countertops, along with commercial-grade refrigeration, which included a wine fridge. But the thing that really got Chris's attention were the security features. His notes said that they were, quote, high-end but low profile that doesn't match the trust in the Lord. That doesn't match the trust in the Lord vibe. It's called Amber D. My tagline is, I get ambered at the end, but you can't find it from a search I've tried. I don't know, man. You can, what's the link or it's just called Amber D. And then search channels. Do you have 5,000 followers, or is... I don't know where to look. Is there a name of a video I can look up or something? I am a head in a jar, that's true. I don't want to be found in a search. James Charles shamed a person for losing their job at Spirit Airlines for relevance. What did he shame about the loss of their job? I don't understand. I never did see him again. Oh, fuck, I'm on the fucking other story. God damn it. That one's that one. Where the fuck am I? Okay, here we go. His notes said that they were, quote, high-end but low profile that doesn't match the trust in the Lord vibe. And he also recognized the cameras, which were neatly integrated into the architecture, as in having night vision and motion tracking features. They also had commercial-grade locks on reinforced doors and a silent alarm system that will have been tied to a... They also have commercial-grade locks on reinforced doors and a silent alarm system that was tied to a private monitoring service. Chris is making a note of all this stuff in his head while the pastor is giving his service, and you might be thinking that he was a real likable guy to be the recipient of all that money. But you'd be wrong on that, because Chris was a great judge of character and said the guy gave off a subtle but very distinct flavor of slime ball. His mom ended up introducing him to the guy after the service was over, and Chris said that he got that exact same read off of him. He might have had his own congregation fooled, taking all that high and mighty talk in his beautiful new church, but Chris said that he could see right through him. Something was going on with that church, and Chris wanted to find out what it was. That week, after he got back from his mom's, was the first time he mentioned it to me. We were in the office taking our lunch break when he asked if I was familiar with the Cave Creek Baptist Church out near Mount Judea. Now, I didn't know the area at all back then, so he started telling me about the church and how strange it was that this little old place in the middle of the Ozarks seemed to be so flush with cash. I remember sarcastically saying that he should get to the bottom of things because that evil pastor was no doubt bumping off his elderly congregation after rewriting their wills. And Chris laughed, and I thought that that was the end of it. But then maybe a week later, he was reading a book over lunch, this dusty old local history book titled Old Churches of Newton County. It was my turn to laugh as I told him to drop it already, that he had better things to do than get all paranoid about some lucky pastor getting himself a generous donation. But Chris always did know when he was onto something, and that old church was no different. Now, he kept on visiting his mom on the weekends just as an excuse to hang around the church without showing up in a professional capacity and ruffling feathers. He went maybe 4 or 5 weeks in a row, watching the whole time, figuring out who was an associate or an assistant. And then slowly but surely, he figured out that the one guy's job title was just head of security. He could understand why the place needed a security guard, but apparently, Cave Creek Baptist had a whole team. Again, this didn't seem all that strange. All I can think of one or two around those parts who would... What the fuck is this saying? Again, this didn't seem all that strange, as I can think of one or two around those parts who wouldn't... Okay, sorry. I feel like the sentence changes as I read it. I heard Joel's in the upcoming new season of Heated Rivalry plays the main villain. The guy with the dirtiest wiener and the biggest puck. I play the goalie, the naked goalie. Is this a church where the marbles started showing evil faces? I don't know. Wait, did you say what your channel was? I don't know, man. Like, to pop off on YouTube, it takes a lot nowadays. It's like way harder than it was before, I think. So it's gonna be tough. Also, my cat is here, so... Again, this didn't seem all that strange, as I can think of one or two around these parts who wouldn't think twice about robbing a church. But if that was the case, what was the head I mentioned, a man named in Chris's notes as Danvers, hardly ever around the church? I mean, he came and went from time to time, but Chris only ever figured out just how frequently after he tailed him on and off for a couple of days. It was a real risky move, following a guy like that, but Chris was old and wise enough to make sure that his times and places were all near perfect. With a little bit of luck, he figured out Danvers was making regular trips down to Hot Springs for some reason. Now, he felt like he was pushing his luck at one point, having followed him at a distance for 3 out of 5 days, and so he borrowed his wife's Altima, worked out Danvers' routine, and then started dating him via Grindr. My mom passed away nearly 3 years ago, so Mother's Day feels a bit off for me. Still remember how I got her flowers barely in time the year oh, I'm sorry about that. Joe, you came up with a story idea in the new bonus content? I do believe so, yeah. Like, we were kind of doing this like Sam wanted to write somebody, wanted to do a concept of like switcheroos where we both are like writing stories and stuff, but giving each other ideas on like what we should write for the bonus content. And I just sadly got started writing mine, and then I don't know, I get caught in these like loops of needing everything to be like perfect, even in like the outlining stage of writing, and then I just end up getting nowhere because perfection is the enemy of good, as they say. Yeah, it was a romance novel. So he borrowed his wife's Altima, worked out Danvers' routine, Jesus fuck. What's up, Jetta Jade? So he borrowed his wife's Altima, worked out Danvers' routine, then followed him all the way down to Hot Springs to see where he was going. He said he almost got himself made when Danvers stopped for some coffee someplace, but thankfully, the place was crowded enough for him to blend in and make his way out again without being spotted. Chris then almost lost Danvers' car when a spotlight cut him off, but after driving around block by block looking for his car, he found it outside a nightclub owned by a very shady character. Now, the club down in Hot Springs was owned by a man named Ricky Marshall, and that name won't mean much to most people, but Ricky was the son of Art Marshall, who ran with this gangster named Oni Madden. Jesus Christ. Named John Madden. Where the hell? Oh my God. This should be a sick video when it comes out. Alright. The name won't mean much to most people, but Ricky was the son of Art Marshall, who ran with a gangster named Oni Madden back in the late 50s and early 60s, back when Hot Springs was a haven for East Coast gangsters looking to start afresh someplace. And Ricky might have been a part-time pimp and full-time screw-up, but nightclubs pretty much run themselves if you got the right bartenders, so there were no surprises that he'd settled... What the fuck? So there were no surprises that he'd settled... Okay, sorry. Chat has died. Alright, perfect. Oh, pimps and pastors. Same thing, huh? Ricky might have been a part-time pimp and full-time screw-up, but nightclubs pretty much run themselves if you got the right bartenders, so there were no surprises that he'd settled into managing a club. But there was no way he was doing it all without the blessing of his uncle, Art's younger brother, who by then was the head of the local underworld there. But what business did a rural Ozark church have with a nightclub run by a former pimp? Chris didn't get any clue to that little conundrum until he got back to Fayetteville and was able to do some serious research on Ricky Marshall. And that's how he discovered that not only did Ricky have convictions related to prostitution, he also had them for transporting minors across state lines for the purposes of said prostitution and for distributing extreme lewd images. God damn it. And that's how we discovered that not only did Ricky have convictions related to prostitution, he also had them for transporting minors across state lines for the purposes of said prostitution and for distributing extreme photographic material. What the fuck word do I use? I like... Hopefully the church has snakes. Snake bites. Snake nuggets. That's how he discovered that not only did Ricky have convictions related to prostitution, he also had them for transporting minors across state lines for the purposes of said prostitution and for distributing extreme exploitative material. And this added a whole other dimension to the story because while it was obvious that Danvers wasn't transporting prostitutes either to or from the club, there was some kind of other exchange going on. Yet while the pastor up at Cave Creek seemed like a creepy son of a bitch, it didn't make sense that he was taking large weekly deliveries of magazines or whatever it was. No, there had to be money in the case Danvers carried out with them. No, there had to be money in the case Danvers carried out with him. The only question was, what was the church giving them in return for it? Chris obviously did his due diligence and made sure that Danvers was actually inside the club and not the late-night Chinese place next door. But just as predicted, after waiting and risking a parking ticket for a few minutes, he watched Danvers walk out of the club with one of those fireproof money cases, which back then must have cost him about $500. Chris had no doubt that this thing was full of cash, or if not, some other kind of material that was so valuable it needed to be able to survive a fire. And no matter how much a person might value that stuff, paper pornography just... And no matter how much a person might value that stuff, paper lewd adult images just doesn't realistically fall under that category. Chris then followed Danvers as far as he needed to be sure that he was headed back to the church, and then on the narrow assumption that he was dropping the cash off there, we have to ask ourselves, why was a house of God getting cash from a pimp? Wait, what was this guy's name? Ricky? Pretty Ricky? Fuck, dude. I'm so confused right now. But Ricky was the son of Art Marshall who ran with a gangster named Oni Madden. I have no fucking clue what the fuck this is saying right now. Maybe Ricky... I don't fucking understand. Anyways, I have no fucking clue what this is trying to say. It's really annoying. Chris then followed Danvers as far as he needed to be sure that he was headed back to the church. Chris then followed Danvers as far as he needed to be sure that he was headed back to the church, and then on the narrow assumption that he was dropping the cash off there, we have to ask ourselves why a house of God was getting cash from a pimp like Ricky Marshall. After tailing Danvers, Chris stopped going to Cave Creek with his mom, and whenever he was visiting her, insisted that they visit the old Mount Judea church instead. He told her to... I'm just like so checked out with the story. What the fuck is this saying, bro? He told her it reminded him of being a kid and of happier times, but really, he just needed to put enough time and space between himself and Cave Creek Baptist to put the next phase of his plan into action, and that involved approach. You thought I was AI this whole time? Damn, dude. See, that's kind of not great. A nice voice though. Thanks so much for having me. So yeah, no worries. I don't know how to like un-AI my voice. Like it just is a monotone. I mean, that was kind of like the thing. I don't know. Polywhirl. Okay. He told her it reminded him of being a kid and of happier times. But really, he just needed to put enough time and space between himself and Cave Creek Baptist to put the next phase of his plan into action, and that involved approaching Danvers with what amounted to an offer of fake business. Chris waited until he wouldn't be recognized, which also involved the very old-school technique of growing out his beard, investing in a large... Chris waited until he wouldn't be recognized, which also involved the very old-school technique of growing out his beard and investing in a dark pair of sunglasses. Then, after dressing in a way that he was sure Danvers wouldn't recognize him at all, he waited in Hot Springs for him and then made his approach. Chris convinced Danvers he represented an organization similar to the one Ricky Marshall was a part of, and one that was very interested in procuring the product he was providing. I guess it wasn't Chris's first rodeo either, because he took Danvers all the way from "Get lost, buddy, I don't know what you're talking about," to admitting he could bring a sample if Chris could actually compensate him. Chris said that he played his hand just right, and then he never once mentioned what that product might be, which implied that A, he already knew what it was, and B, that he was so on the level that he knew that to mention it out. I invented AI, that's true. I'm one of the many scientists that spoke to the devil. Hey, good night, Metal. What is it about the year 2027 that AI goes to like the next level? Do you know what I'm talking about? Do people view 2027 as the time in which AI goes to the next level? That's the year I get pregnant with big old burrito poop. Okay, the AI 2027 scenario got influential. A group including the former OpenAI director, researcher Daniel Coctailio, and other published AI 2027, a detailed forecasting imagining rapid progression from advanced AI agents to superhuman AI. They predict superhuman AI could have effects bigger than the Industrial Revolution over the next decade. Their takeoff forecast specifically uses March 2027 superhuman coder milestone as a key trigger point. coding is seen as the gateway skill. Theory is once AI becomes better than humans at software engineering, it can help improve AI research itself, and that could speed up model development, debugging, data generation, architecture improvements, and automation. This is why superhuman coder by 2027 is such a big phase in AI circles. It does not mean robot gods in 2027, but it means AI could become good enough at the exact work needed to make the next AI systems better. I really do hope that AI hits like a roadblock here at some point. Like something that's like so confusing that even AI itself can't philosophically get past. Epoch AI tracks frontier AI trends and says AI capability growth is being pushed by compute hardware performance, software efficiency, and investment. The work has also projected that very expensive training runs could pass $1 billion by 2027, limiting frontier development to the richest labs. Epoch AI found that frontier model training runs have been getting longer, but there's an economic limit to how long it makes sense to train. On current trends, they estimated frontier AI may be a roughly 9-month practical training run limit around 2027, with uncertainty from 2025 to 2029. AI agents are missing step people expect to mature right now. AI is impressive, but still unreliable as an autonomous worker. The 2027 argument is that the next few years may improve memory, tool use, long horizon planning, coding, browsing, and self-correction enough that AI shifts from chatbot helper to semi-autonomous employee. That is the next level people mean. I don't fucking care anymore. So it just basically in 2027 is whenever it starts to like make itself better, which is kind of scary. And I guess if it makes itself better, then, but who knows, maybe it will make itself, like maybe it will, once it starts to like make itself better, maybe it will like fuck itself up really bad. It'll just start like a cascade effect that human fixing can't keep up with, and it will just like turn itself into spaghetti code that it can't even comprehend, nor can we even decipher within 2 billion years or something. This is your thesis topic. It doesn't work very well with emotion recognition in the wild across languages. Oh yeah, makes sense. Wait, that's your thesis topic, that one, or the thing that I said? And then humans have to become transhuman to fight AI. Well, I mean, that technically seems like how that they want it to plan out with the transhumanist movement bullshit. Hi Joel, quick question. Would you be willing to autograph some merch for a fan? I guess if they're hot. No, I'm just kidding. Probably not. I don't really know how I would go about doing that. I guess I would have to like send something to somebody. If I did like actual in-person stuff, maybe. The thing you said. Oh, okay. I've never really done like autographs or anything, and like it would require me to buy the merch, send it to my house, and then like sign it, and then send it to like a PO box, or you know what I mean. So it'd just be kind of complicated. Chris said he played his hand just right, and that he never once mentioned what that product might be, which implied that A, he already knew what it was, and B, that he was so on the level that he knew that to mention it out loud. What is it saying, dude? Which implied that A, he already knew what it was, and B, that he was so on the level that he knew that to mention it out loud in public. Why does that sound so weird? Which implied that A, he already knew what it was, and B, that he was so on the level that he knew to mention it out loud in public. Danvers still seemed a little skeptical, even after Chris invited him to pat him down for wires and what have you. But after promising him a sizable finder's fee for sourcing materials for him, Danvers relented and gave Chris a number to call in exactly 24 hours in order to confirm the sample exchange. Chris waited, called the numbers and then confirmed a time and place for them to meet. And then 2 days later, he was at a desk at the end of the day giving me instructions on what to do with the envelope full of notes and evidence. I didn't take him all that seriously at the time because over the course of maybe a month or two, he'd gone from mentioning his suspicions to reading that old history book to acting like he was about to expose the truth behind the JFK assassination. I thought he'd gone a little nuts, if I'm being honest, that maybe he was going through some kind of midlife crisis. He seemed fixated on something that had a perfectly rational explanation, at least that's what I thought, until I read what was in the envelope. And only then did I realize the gravity of the situation and how Chris's death was not what it appeared to be. I remember the day he failed to show up for work in the morning and how people were walking around the office saying, "It must have been one heck of a head cold to..." Janis Mua's story about a city guy meeting a farm girl, met her parents, but the farm had stuff around it. Once he escaped, the family evaporated because they were evil. Interesting. Bort holes are going to be extinct by 2029, so use them while you can, y'all. Just sat down, also bite into a cheeseburger, enjoying listening to Joel. How's Mr. Purr? He's good. He is sitting behind me. Is my family rich? No. My family is not rich. Be cool. But honestly, I guess I'm kind of thankful that my family's not rich because I have some, like I had like friends who grew up with a dad who was like a pretty wealthy dentist. And honestly, like, there's just certain things that like my friend and his siblings do that I notice that I don't do. And a lot of it just comes down to sort of like them thinking that everything is just like going to be taken care of for them, you know what I mean? So it's like kept them as adults in some ways from like just kind of like pushing themselves to a higher level of achievement, I suppose. Which honestly, I wouldn't be. I mean, I would still be just as susceptible to being a little dipshit rich kid or whatever like anybody else, you know what I mean? I'm a Nexpo baby. Money doesn't buy happiness, I'm okay, and I still enjoy more being active with friends and family. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it certainly pays the bills. Soft hands. You got soft liberal hands. If your fingers don't look like this every fucking day and he's just eating poop. He just has a big pile of dog shit that he's just eating. Alright, anyways. I remembered the day that he failed to show up for work in the morning and how people were walking around the office saying, "It must have been one heck of a head cold to not call in and let us know." People treated it like it was no big deal, but I got an actual chill running through me thinking about all the stuff that he'd said about him disappearing and what I should do if he did. Like I said, I thought Chris was losing his mind and that he talked himself into thinking he was the star in his very own conspiracy movie. But he hadn't talked himself into anything, at least nothing delusional anyway. Or maybe a better way to phrase it would be, Chris actually had talked himself into something, and that something was a whole heap of trouble. I had to keep my mouth shut during the unsuccessful search for his body, and during his funeral, when heartbroken family members were asking why. Why would he do something like that to himself? And in my mind, I kept screaming out, he didn't write that note, he was murdered. But I also under strict instruction. Happy Mother's Day, Mommy Joel. Thank you. I am kind of a mom, aren't I? I kind of got mom energy with my big honking mom tits that everybody wants to suckle milk out of. That's probably one of my most motherly features, is just very succulent breasts filled with delicious sustenance. 6, but I have like 6 of them on my body, like a pig. Come to me, come get your milk. Oh yeah, and a huge bush. It's kind of hilarious because you literally take any fucking little cartoon and you just put like a big hairy bush down in like the area in which their private parts might be, and it just makes the cartoon so fucking funny. Like take Patrick Star, put like a big bush down there. You take, or maybe like Plankton. You could probably do that with Plankton. I seen one where they did it with like Clefairy, from Pokemon, put like a huge triangular bush down at the bottom, and it was like, that's just perfect. And then you got, what else do you got? You got like, I already said Patrick Star, so I'm kind of running out of characters. Anyways, there's no way that there's like a certain perverted subreddit that would ever just like add sexual pubic hair to any of their favorite cartoons, right? Certainly not. Amanda Bynes? What the fuck are you talking about, Amanda Bynes? Justin, that's not a cartoon, you freak. Now, Jeffree Star is a cartoon, so yes, a big fucking hairy Jeffree Star bush bursting out of their jeans. Can't even zip up. Too much bush. You think Patrick's beard would be red? Yeah, most likely. In my mind, I kept screaming out, He didn't write that note. He was murdered. But I also motherfucker. But I was also under strict instruction not to kick up a stink about what I'd been told. If I did, I might spook Danvers, the pastor, maybe even the whole operation, and then Chris's work would never be completed. And so instead, I did as I was told, and delivered the files to his friend at the Fayetteville newspaper. I couldn't deliver it to him in person, of course. They didn't just let me walk up to the guy's office and drop it on his desk. God damn it. Fuck, dude. John Cena surgically removed his. John Cena lost his bush in a freak wrestling flip accident. He was doing a gainer off the top bar and just got like ripped. I think he landed directly along like the rocks, like 5 o'clock shadow, and it was just like hard Velcro. Just absolutely scraped it off. But it left like a little mustache on the rock. That's why he can't shave that mustache that he has, because it's John Cena's pubes. Why does YouTube keep switching to top comments? I've been listening. I don't know. I'm going to email them. I'm going to say, hey, Batsy Girl wants to know about the top comment situation. It's getting crazy. I'm going to donate your bush for science. I couldn't deliver it to him in person, of course. They didn't just let me walk up to the guy's office and drop it on his desk. I had to go through a secretary. But I left her my contact details and asked her to pass on a message to Chris's friend saying if I could help in any way at all he needed to do was call me. But he didn't. And it got to the point where I had to call him, hounding that secretary again and again until we finally agreed to call me back. But I know now that I shouldn't have put all my hopes in that return call, because when it came, they were brutally cut down. When the guy called back, it was like he also thought that Chris was just losing his mind. And while I'd once believed that that was the case myself, I couldn't after I read through those files. I asked the guy if he'd read through everything, and when he told me yes, I asked how the hell he could be so dismissive when Chris was so certain of everything. Now, he'd been at Chris's funeral, although I obviously hadn't recognized him because I had no idea what he looked like, but he'd been there as his family grieved, as the official story was circulated among friends and relatives who wept for their dearly departed old friend, and apparently he'd swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. But that's just the thing. I don't believe for a single second that Chris's old journalist buddy read through all those notes and all that evidence and still thought, fool's lost his marbles. He read through that. What if someone's literal soulmate is in the chat right now and they're talking about Bush? Probably, honestly, there's been probably multiple marriages that have happened through the Let's Read live chat. Can't tell you how many, but definitely probably more than 2. Is there a soulmate detector app? Honestly, can you imagine, from all the shit that you've input into like the NSA database, if you could just like imagine, I just like to imagine, just hypothetically, somewhere in like some server room deep under the Arizona desert or the Utahian desert, that the NSA just like has your exact literal soulmate match right now, from every text message you've sent, every porn you've looked at, every time you've jacked off, every time you've, looked at Bush online, things like that. Like just compiled all that data into one big thing, and then they could just be, your match is Sandy Cheeks. And it would just, it would have like just from the time you were fucking 15 till whatever the fuck you are right now, you Palantir, could figure out your exact destined hubby-wubby. But they would never do that. They just want to keep you unhappy and buying OnlyFans subscriptions. Because objectively speaking, maybe one of your guys' soulmates is an OnlyFans model. And if you just spend upwards of enough thousands of dollars enough times, maybe she'll fall in love. Lonely fans. He read through the same thing I did, so if you ask me, it was more a case of him recognizing how dangerous Chris's work was than refusing to continue it out of fear that he'd suffer the same fate. In a way, I can't blame the guy. I myself was scared as hell driving over to Mount Judea and then onto the Cape. God, none of these stories had to do with the Ozark Mountains. Damn. I dated a guy who worked for the NSA. He was never online for anything. It makes sense. He was like, I'm not getting put in a fucking camp when the aliens do a fake invasion. In a way, I can't blame the guy. I myself was scared as hell driving over to Mount Judea and then on to Cave Creek and the big extravagant church there. I talked to the pastor myself and got the same subtly creepy vibes that Chris did. I mean, I was definitely influenced by the things he'd written in his notes, but he was right. And it felt to me like the guy was wearing a mask of decency. The pastor said that he'd heard about Chris's passing and then invited me into his office to show me something. I didn't know what to expect, but when I saw Chris's photo hanging there on the wall in a fancy golden frame, it made me sick to my stomach. It was a trophy. They had a goddamn trophy of someone that they were complicit in silencing. And the pastor said the church, meaning him, liked to think of Chris as one of his own, since he was someone who'd frequently worshiped with them at one stage and someone who had now gone back to God. Now that's self-satisfied. He applied to be a citizen for a secret city they have in Nevada. He got rejected, but it was an eye-opener that there's worlds under what we all know. Fucking what? A secret citizen? That's what he told you? How was he able to tell you about that? Do aliens come out like the Alphabet Mafia folks or what? What do they do? How does it work? I don't know. I think they come out of the ocean. They have like different drone construction machines on the coast of different major countries. The United States, they have one off the coast of China. And then it's just these like moving machines that collect like earth debris from under the ocean, and then they can just like launch data collecting drones out, and if you get close or try to fuck with it, they just like turn you into dust. I'm in a secret society. I don't even know about anything. It's so secret they don't even tell me. Because he got rejected, but he was working security for Herjavik at the time. Interesting. So an underground city. So is that what their plan is? Like, is something going to happen where everybody has to go to an underground city? Like Speranza? Why don't they just build like a low-orbit space station? Probably cheaper to make an underground city since there's endless oxygen down there that can flow through, I guess. But then if you're flowing the oxygen down, aren't you also flowing the radiation down as well? I don't know. The self-satisfied way that he said it turned my stomach too, as if he were saying, "We got your friend, and there's nothing you can do about it." I might have mentioned this already, but just in case I didn't, I made a copy of Chris's envelope before I took it over to his friend. Well, I ended up making 2 more whole copies, one sent to the feds and one I sent to the local sheriff's department. I don't know why I bothered sending it to the county sheriff, who said that the church had more grounds for a harassment case than Chris did for any kind of corruption or other scandal. The feds didn't even call me back, and I'm guessing Chris's work will stay buried in some pile somewhere until some poor schmuck finally gets around to reading it in maybe 30 goddamn years. I thought about driving out there at night and burning the place down myself, providing Danvers or one of his boys provided. Danvers? What a fucking name, Danvers. Crab people. Crab people. I still remember that South Park episode. Not underground, just isolated, like top secret military stuff. He was a winner at DEF CON 2, so he was a smart cookie. Interesting. Can you tell us anything else cool about reality or anything like that? Anything we should be prepared for? I still feel like the power is going to get shut off at some point, right? Like if the power gets shut off, that would be the best time to do, like if the power was shut off for like a couple years, right? If the power was shut off for a couple years, you could do a fake alien invasion then, right? Because if you do a fake alien invasion then, of some sort, nobody can really communicate with each other to say, hey, this is a fake alien invasion. They just kind of like go along with it or whatever. And then everybody, when there's powers out, they just kind of have to go along with the authoritative figures that dictate. Buddy likes Pats. What's up, dude? He applied for Area 51. Area 61. Why would you say that play Halo? Dude, you don't play any games. You're just making all this stuff up. I have no idea. I'm just like a regular cookie, but whatever. They're planning is something big because he shut off his social media a year ago. Oh. Controlling the weather here is cold when it's normally sunny and warm. What gives? Where are you at? I can probably tell you why it's that. Area 69. How much people will survive, definitely. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? I wonder if they have to use the GMO seeds that Monsanto forces everyone to use, or they sue the fucking Amish for cross-pollination and all that kind of shit. Does anyone actually live alone these days? How does one afford this? I have a cat roommate who pays rent and throw up. You're invited my B-Day party at around 1, Happen Style arcade in a few weeks, but you'll have to fly out to Cali. Put money on my game card. Nice. Oh, fuck, man. We're almost done. I thought about driving out there at night and burning the place down myself, provided Danvers or one of his boys didn't shoot me first. But then one day, it burned down all on its own. I guess someone at the Fed finally got around to reading that file, and that someone at the local sheriff's department tipped them off that the crap was about to hit the fan. The pastor vanished along with everyone that was employed there. There was one local man who tended to the church's landscaping, but he didn't know much, and to him, it was just a case of his very cushy job disappearing overnight. Now, I don't know if it was Ricky Marshall and his boys who burned the place down. Maybe Danvers did it on the pastor's instruction. All I know is that Chris tried his damnedest to work out what kind of evil had corrupted that place, all in aid of putting a stop to it, and he paid for it with his life. Squeaked right at the end. You don't want to squeak at the end, folks. You don't want to squeak. All I know is that Chris tried his damnedest. God damn it. Fucking cock. Fuck. Just flip my table. It took 15 years of YouTube to finally lose my fucking mind. All I know is that Chris tried his damnedest to work out what kind of evil had corrupted that place, all in aid of putting a stop to it, and he paid for it with his life. I just squoke. This movie is so squoke. Every actor keeps squeaking. It's an extended stay, been there for about a year now. Cable, water, and AC are included. Keep in place at 60 degrees all day and take long hot showers. Also have my own internet. They didn't have Wi-Fi. Nice. I swear, every stream, someone comes in and asks me about the quartering drama. I don't know why. Is the quartering drama, like, even interesting at all? Like, someone drinks alcohol and ruin their life. It's like a tale as old as time. Anyways, we're gonna read the outro. Tell you about the quartering drama. I don't know. He's just a drunk or something. I mean, I don't really care. He's just a guy that does, like, grifter politics nonsense that, like, literally adds nothing to any knowledge of what is occurring, and really, really likes to look at porn and jerk off and drink copious amounts of alcoholic beverages. And I think pooped his pants at Walmart or something, and that's pretty much it. But honestly, who hasn't done that? I couldn't do the Ozarks or Appalachia. Gummo got it right. Gummo? Who's Gummo? Is his name Joel? Yeah, I think it's Joel from the Quartering. Joel from the Quartering here, folks. Ready to show you the woke libs being spanked in the streets. Oh shit. Alright guys, you guys want to think of something funny for me to say at the end of this sick ass video we're about to put out? And remember, never shave your bush. Hey friends, thanks for listening. Click that notification bell to be alerted of all future narrations. I release new videos every Monday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and there are super fun live streams on Sundays and Wednesday nights. If you got a story, be sure to submit them over at my email at letsreadsubmissions@gmail.com, and you might even hear your story featured on the next video. And if you want to support me even more, grab early access to all future narrations and bonus content over on Patreon, or click that big join button to hear about the extra perks for members of the channel. And check out the Let's Read podcast, where you can hear all of these stories in big compilations located anywhere you listen to podcasts. I also have a true crime channel that I know you'll love. It's called Saturn Soul. Go subscribe right now, for God's sakes. All links are in the description below. Thanks so much, friends. And remember, shampoo and condition your bush.
Oh my god, Joel, that was so inappropriate, you fucking pervert. I think I'm going to have to unsubscribe.
Sorry you don't keep your bush nice and fresh for me with a fresh perm. Run that beautiful bush bean footage. Remember that one commercial? There's like a commercial with like a dog, and I think he knows like the secret ingredients to Bush's beans. And at the end he says, "Run that beautiful bean footage," or something. Anyways, it's disgusting. Hey Joel, you should change the title to Random Stories Loosely Associated with the Ozarks. Exactly. A series of 3 stories that have literally nothing to do with the mountains or anything of that nature. Carol, welcome back for 3 months. Hi all, Buttersuck Cole. Hi Joel, hello. But guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Appreciate you, love you. Thanks for dealing with my crap. Otherwise, I'm going to go get this video up and edited over on Patreon. It's only $1 a month for early access to all audio over there. Otherwise, we'll get it up at the same time, same place, here on Let's Read YouTube, 9 p.m. EST. It really does help if you watch it. And then after you watch it, I need you to stay on the platform of YouTube forever. Never leave this platform ever, so they think I'm really useful to them and they don't kill me and put me in a fucking YouTuber camp, which could happen, maybe. They haven't decided yet. But anyways, follow my Instagram at letsread.official to be kept up to date whenever I go live. I'll post when I'm live over on my story over there, as well as some pictures of my black cat that I have named Pradeep, who is a very big sweetheart. And yeah, I have the Let's Read podcast in case you haven't checked it out. It's all these stories, but it sounds way better as far as audio mixing goes. And anyways, thanks for being awesome, everybody. I will be back probably this Sunday, I guess. Or no, it is Sunday. I don't know what fucking day it is. I'll be back streaming Wednesday, as I stream every Sunday and Wednesday night. So stay tuned for that, guys. Love you, appreciate you. See ya in a bit. Goodbye.